What's up, boys and girls? We're back. Back for one more stream. And then it's America, unfortunately. No. I'm very conflicted about going back to America. Just 2 weeks visit. Not. It's nice to visit, but you don't want to live there. You know what I mean? And it looks like YouTube is working again, Asturbate. If you want to watch and listen on YouTube, it is functional again. I think we had just some momentary lapse of YouTube Streamlabs coordination. So, Wednesday analysis stream. I usually do this on Thursday, but I'm flying out tomorrow morning to go to Trumpistan to do Storage Wars. So, 2 weeks of Storage Wars. And I don't know what else, some nostalgic sightseeing, perhaps. Getting my stuff together. Saving what I can save and throwing out the rest. Storing it with friends. I don't know. We're going to see. I got to get rid of the storage unit. Enough Storage Wars. They doubled my rent in 5 years. Cannot afford it anymore. So, I've got games for analysis tonight from Asturbate, from Mr. Slow, from Mr. Coffee, and myself. I've decided if we have time, I will share the abomination that is my latest over-the-board game. Abomination. So, you might notice the stream title, guys, we're grinding for FM. Because for a long time now, maybe about 5 years, I've been playing FM level instead of IM level, and it seems like I am now reached the point where I'm below FM level. So I'm actually now at the point where I have to grind my way back to FM level. And that's what we're going to try to do over the course of my next 12 games. Get back to FM. Yeah. I want to be a feminine master again. Maybe FIDE can downgrade me to FIDE Master. What's up, Mr. Coffee? Excited for the weekend? I'm flying into Boston Thursday night, hopefully, if all goes well. I haven't seen any airport disruptions today, but you never know what's going to happen, so keep your fingers crossed. So we've got analysis, and we're going to start with Asturbate. I was really hoping that Mr. So would make it tonight because he wasn't here for our Simul on Sunday, and I sent him a private message on Leechess because he's the one who submits the games from Geller. But he didn't respond, and a lot of people just simply don't use the relatively lame messaging system on Leechess. Mr. Coffee and I use it for, top secret communications. Yeah, that's all been explained in the introduction. I already went through why I'm grinding for FM. Because I'm a 2280 now. No, it's true. It's true. It is true. I've been playing like an FM for a long time, and now I'm actually beginning to slip below that standard, I think, with my last game. So anyway, I hope Mr. Still comes. I was doing these streams usually on Thursdays, and I'm starting a little later too. So Thursdays is a different schedule, and I couldn't start the stream till normally like 6:45. So I'm hoping Mr. Slow comes. He's not only a huge donor, but he's the one who submits the Geller games, and they're very instructive. And I wouldn't want to start the game until he gets here. But I don't know if he's gonna make it. We might get other submissions. The stream doesn't have to be a long stream because I do have to get ready to go in the morning tomorrow. So Tonight is like getting ready for my travel to Trumpistan tomorrow. Very long trip because I got a layover. I got a connecting flight, and there's a layover of a few hours, and then the trip itself is pretty long. So, and then I've got to take a bus. Um, when I get there, a couple hours. So it's basically like tomorrow is it's like traveling to. It's gonna feel like traveling to like Australia or something. I'm gonna wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and arrive um, at my destination. Something like 18 hours later. All right, we've got Asterbait to start it off. Let's go. Asterbait, guys. If you're a subscriber to the stream, you can add a game for the stream to analyze. We've got Asterbait, Mr. Slope / Geller, Mr. Coffee, game 1, and then the disaster that is me. I don't care if you guys are lower rated than me. It's good to have another pair of eyes look at your games, and even if you're 1600 or 1800, having other people's perspectives is very valuable. I think I know what's wrong with me. I mean, the first thing I need to do is like not get up from the board. But when you haven't played chess if you haven't played a long game in 7 or 6 months, it's kind of a weird experience to sit there at the board for 5 hours if you're not used to it. But on the other hand, I mean, I play poker in games where I'll play for like 14 hours straight, so I have the capacity to sit there. But anyways, we'll see. So Asterbait, first game, we got to follow Waffalino. Waffalini. By the way, I have a question. I saw this on social media today. Are left and right Twix really different? What are your thoughts? Mr. Coffee, do we have a poll? We haven't done a poll in a long time. But I'd like to see what people think about that. Alright. So, Asterbait is white, knight f3. There seems to be an argument that the cookie part might be different, and the layering of the caramel might be different, or they might be softer or chewier or something like that. So there are people who only eat the left or right Twix. I didn't even ever know of this concept until today. So now apparently you can actually buy individually wrapped left Twix and right Twix. Is it like is that a political joke? Alright, so knight f3, and we're white. Asterbait's opponent plays knight to c6, and now you played c4. So by playing c4, we now push the game in the direction of an English opening. However, I just want to comment on the fact that white has very strong alternatives here. So e4 and d4 are the strongest moves in this position, indubitably. I like d4 because you're looking at a Chigorin, which is a somewhat second-tier opening. Black blocks the c-pawn on c7 with a knight on c6, It doesn't really hurt you with white to block your f2 pawn, because that's not necessarily a pawn you want to move early in the game, even though it is like essentially part of the center. But the knight on c6 is a major problem. This blocking the c-pawn from influencing the center. So if you play d4, you stop e5, and black's only central pawn move now is obviously d5. But it's hard for him to get in e5. So Asterbait, I think if I were you, honestly, because you've been playing d4 in other positions, if you don't want to play e4, I think you should definitely play d4 here. Particularly against this, welcoming a Chigorin. I really like g3 there. I've had very good score with this. When I discovered this, I stopped playing all the other lines against the Chigorin. It's just quite good. What are the statistics? Notice g3 does as well as c4 in this position. Anyways, alright. So you played c4. It's in English. After e5, it's a classical English. Poll is open. Which Twix is better? Dark. All right. So e5. Thanks, Mr. Coffee. We haven't done a troll. A troll poll. Troll poll. Poll on a troll. Poll on a roll. Anyways, did you guys see that that Trump appointee Thomas Homan is accused of accepting a bribe of $50,000 in cash from FBI agents? But I said, what's the big deal? To err is Homan. I don't know. It's bad, I know. Okay, knight c3. So we're looking at it in English, right? Good control of d5. Now black has the opportunity to play f5, but knight f6 would be a normal 4 knights English. That's what we got, okay? Like the most fundamentally important variation in the English, probably. 4 knights classical. Astrobate has very little experience here. G3 is the main move, but in Astrobate, actually, you have to look at this position like you're playing the Sicilian. You know, so you should, of all people, you played the accelerated dragon, accelerated fianchetto Sicilians. What's up, chess zebra? I've never really been a pun master, but all right. So G3 Astrobate maybe next time. You did E3. This is the other primary move. White has a lot of moves here. G3, E3, D4, E4, D3, A3, pretty much everything. E3, and then really the worst move that black could play here that, you know, is really ridiculous move by black. So I'm actually tempted to think that the games in question here, you know, would be like jokes or something. I don't see how Heinrich Teske, who's like a grandmaster, could possibly play against Margier Peterson this move. But who knows? You know, people do weird stuff. I mean, maybe black's idea is to induce d4 and then go bishop b4, and maybe it's not so bad. So there's also the possibility of forking with knight takes c5, the old knight takes c5, knight takes c5, and d4. And look who played this with black. Don't tell Twitch. I pointed it out. But that crazy dude who tried to like report me for abusing him, defending myself from his insults, I was abusing him. Alright, so Queen e7. Yeah, whatever. Alright, this is a good line for white too. Knight takes e5. That guy's clearly off the wall. So Astrobate played a3. a3 is a good move. You have to consider e4. This is a reverse Bodler. I think the tempo here pretty useful. Wow, this position has happened surprisingly frequently. So Astrobate Margier also played your move a3. You're in good company. Wow, he lost. He lost with white. Oh my god. So Peterson is a banker. He's got some deal going. He's got like a deal going in some kind of Ukrainian bank thing going on. Trying to expand his banking empire into Ukraine. But he seems like a nice guy. He asked me at the World Teen Championship Senior last year if I was one of the... It was a funny question, very dated. He asked if I was one of the Collins kids. Because I'm like the right age to have been taught by... what was his name? Collins was a chess coach in New York and had this program for teaching chess. Are you one of the Collins kids? No, but anyway, all right. The Icelandic grandmaster is very strong. Surprising he would lose with white in this position. Now black can play e4, but it overextends. And by the way, if e4, we have options. you can go knight g5, trying to pick this off, and I think you might just win it. You know, I mean, what can he do? Queen e7, queen c2, bye-bye. Or if you wanted to be fancy, you could play d4 and then try to get one of these things, which is very good for you. Even this is very good for white. I know this color's reversed. Anyway, so black played a5, and now we're following Andrei Karlov against Nikolai Vlasov. The Vlasov guy played in the World Senior a couple years ago under the FIDE flag. And another game from Hungary, Kachumian. I never played Kachumian, but he was a Budapesti park player. From what I heard, he would play blitz in the park. So see all the random stuff that I know. I'm just like Collins Kids in 1959 music scene. All right, so now bishop d3. This is a new move. d4 is standard. I mean, the thing is, right, it seems like Heinrich Teske's idea against Peterson was to do a thing where you'd go here and you'd still have kind of a useful square for the bishop. Problem is, now you don't anymore. What Vlasov did here is, it's really, really strange. I mean, this is not good for black. This is like beginner style stuff. So I think that guy does have a tendency to play offbeat openings and stuff, the Vlasov, but this is going a little bit too far. Sam Collins. No, Sam Collins is the Irish barrister. He's a barrister. Another player who I played. Okay. He played the Trompowsky against me, and I played c6, just kind of randomly. Okay, bishop d3. So Astrobai's new move. This system has been recommended by me. It's the Slaggy anti-Bodler in reverse. But we all know that Phil Collins was not at all the most talented of the members of Genesis. I think there's no disputing that, obviously. Okay, bishop d3. Bishop d3. Yeah, obviously Peter Gabriel, far better musician. Okay, bishop d3 here. So, Trifon Gabriel. Oh, Dr. Zebra, I have a health question for you. I have strained like some kind of muscle in the center of my chest, like sort of under my sternum. You know, there's nothing you do about that. It sucks. I never had this before, but it just like hurts like right in the middle of my chest every time I laugh or cough or something like that. I guess there's like nothing you can do about it. Just like wait for it to get better. Wow, yes, Yasensky Nora has subscribed on YouTube. Now that's interesting because now I don't know if this is connected, but there is a Hungarian chess tournament organizer with the same name, Yasensky, and he's organizing a lot of tournaments here. I haven't been able to go to them, but you recommend Ben Gay. That smells bad, and it makes it makes you smell like mint or something like that, you know. Tylenol. Borowitz today on Facebook posted that like he said he hopes that pregnant women will take more Tylenol because Trump and what's his face are idiots. All right, well that's true. Tylenol is good for you. Please don't ask me about chest pain. No. No, I mean, of course, it's been going on for weeks. It's like anytime I move, you know, it's totally like Of course, it's musculoskeletal. It's like, it's totally movement related. You know, it's very in the front, in the muscle. You know, in the tissue. It's not the organs or my heart or, you know. Um, there's like nothing you can really do about it, I guess. Today I was on the bus. It was almost better, and today I was on the bus, and the bus driver like slammed on the accelerator too fast to make the bus go a little bit faster, and I got like thrown off of my place. I was standing up holding like the railing, and we're at this like stop, and he's like stopped and waiting for people, gonna be like waiting for people to get on. He like suddenly hits the accelerator, and I like got slammed, and I like moved, and I pulled my and it was like it happened again. Right, right. Costco. I read something about this. Costco arthritis. It hurts. It hurts. Don't make me laugh. Costco arthritis. Um, I had a friend who had a hiatal hernia. He said that was devastating. All right. Anyway, Bishop D3. Bishop D3. He really thought he was having a heart attack when he had the hiatal hernia. But I think this is something more like what you're talking about there. But anyway, I don't know why I even mentioned it. It's just your doctor. You know, if I ask you for information, you give me bad advice, I can sue you and shit. I'm hoping. That's why I'm going to the United States, if I can get some good lawsuits. You know, like today's trolley incident, for example. Maybe I could sue the. I mean, you know, I'm just a caveman. I went on the bus, and the driver, you know, slammed on the accelerator, and I hurt myself. And I want to find a lawyer to help me get restitution for that. But in Hungary, you know, there are no rules. So I have no chance. But if I go to the United States for 2 weeks, maybe I can throw myself in front of a vehicle or something and, you know, pretend I got hurt. All right. Bishop D3. This is a system I recommended, actually. To astrobate, the setup is such: Bishop D3, Queen C2, B3, Bishop B2. We keep control of the light squares, and we'll flick this knight over to E4 at some point to open up the bishop on B2 on that diagonal. I've played this a lot against people who play the Boldler with reverse colors, and it's very effective. So this is the main idea. So we're not doing D4. We're focusing on that light square diagonal, keeping control of E4, D5, and stuff like that. All right, D6. Now, astrobate went knight E4 right away. That is astrobate style, but it doesn't seem right. It's a little too early here to do that. Good luck with your journey to FM. Dude, I mean, the bus driver like threw me, and I like couldn't control myself. I had like, what is that disease when you're like cursing and shit? I just like cursed him out. I was like, what the fuck, man? I was like I turned into like angry Joe Biden. I was like, holy shit, god damn it, man. You know, he like threw me off. I was shocked. And I started cursing at him like Joe Biden in English. Alright, so astrobate, I don't think you should do this right away. I think we want to build up first before you go moving your minor pieces again. So, you know, the plan is Queen C2. These squares are covered. So long as black can't go E4, you don't need to stick a knight on E4. In fact, we'd like to induce black to do this, because that's a bad move, and he doesn't want to trade off, but most noobs will do that almost automatically, and we don't mind if they take that. Now, having said that, you even have the option to go here. But I think more development is called for. This is a little too early. So black can now take and play maybe even F5. I mean, that's probably too much. But alright, knight E4, bishop E4. Just so you know, F5 is possible. I'd like that to not be possible. Thanks, Shaki, for the good luck on my journey to FM. I'd prefer if we had control of F5, and F5 wasn't even possible. But you have to now consider that he could do this. So what are we going to do if he does that? Are we going to go bishop D5, where our bishop gets like dissolved with knight E7? You dissolve the essential assaults. of the human body, and the salts can be brought back to life. Um, they can be reconstituted, but this bishop's not going to be reconstituted. Oh, I did a funny thing. Yesterday I was playing Blitz, and some guy wouldn't resign, so I made a third bishop, and it was really weird. I had this like endgame with like 3 bishops. It was like 3 bishops. I had like 3 bishops and a knight against bishop and knight or something like that, and it was really kind of cool. I had 2 light square bishops and a dark square bishop, but they're actually useful because the bishops would like protect each other and shit like that. It was kind of cool. 3 bishops, it's stronger than 2 bishops. If you've heard of the bishop pair, the bishop triumvirate. But no, you don't want your bishop to get trapped here. I think this is already like bad. So you'd probably have to, retreating sucks, and you're gonna have to go here and then try to hit him with d4, but it's just not that effective. Journey to the center of the earth. Thanks again for the follow on YouTube from Nora, and okay, the Yasensky family. So, all right, we go back, and bishop takes e4, black castles. Now, you can't stop f5 at this point, and you don't want to castle because now this is getting kind of serious. You also can't play d4 because of the e-file. So I think you kind of screwed up there, man. Seriously. Now we have some issues. What are you going to do? d4 is no good because of the e-file. Castles is no good. I mean, it's playable, but it's not great. Okay, it's probably playable. I like what you did, though. Okay, h4 is reasonable in this circumstance because you have the idea of posting the knight up to h5. Sorry, g5. A little Freudian slip there. I'm gonna h5 queen. There's a lot of variations where you can do a fishing pole attack and maybe even sacrifice a piece or whatever. Tourette syndrome. Thank you. Bishop Artois. Yeah, I was screaming at the bus driver. I was just like reacting, I almost fell down on the floor of the bus because these 2 chicks, one of them, poor girl, was like handicapped or something, and the other one was just blocking the aisle. So I couldn't sit down in the bus. I couldn't even get in. I was standing in the doorway. When he threw me, I almost fell down. I just started Tourette syndroming. I was just shocked. I was in a shock. You ever like have something happen, you like just shout? It's just like a reaction, Alright, so h4, bishop g4, always a bad idea, right? Because it's black's good bishop. And now you have bishop takes h7, and he may have missed the old check. Nice. So this happens sometimes in the French Tarash. But, yeah, I mean, he may have counted on queen takes g5. But it doesn't work because your rook discovers with check on h7. So he probably realized only now. He was counting on queen takes g5, but then he realized, oh shit. You take back with the pawn and it's check. I can't take with the queen on g5. And so he has to move his king. So he goes back, and then white takes on g4. Well, you were lucky. I mean, bishop g4 was a really bad move, obviously. And this is his last chance to... I mean, queen h5 is basically lights out. So this is his last chance to defend. f5 is not going to do it. You could probably argue that f5 makes it worse. So g6, his move, looks logical, but I think in reality, the case may be that his only real move here could be maybe queen f6. Because queen f6, you can at least go queen h5, queen g6, or maybe better is queen h6. I don't know. It's not good for black. He's down a pawn, and trading queens isn't good, but it's better than losing, or better than losing immediately. Mr. Sohand is here. All right. Yeah, Mr. Sohand. I've been starting later on Thursdays, but because I'm traveling tomorrow, we started on time. On time. Yeah, and on time is inexcusable. That's what we used to say in Sigma Chi. Um, early is on time is late, and late is inexcusable. Today we're on time, so we're late, basically. Mr. Slow is here. Subscribe to Tier 1 for 72 months. So 72 months by Mr. Slow's subscription. I know how long it's been since I've been to the United States. So 72 months is how many years? 6 years. That's how long it's been since I've been in the United States. And we're going to Trumpistan tomorrow. What is required to ask for game analysis? Waffalino. It's required to be a subscriber in Twitch, on Twitch. In Twitch or on Twitch. I don't have the instinct to curse in Hungarian yet. It was a very deep, you know. I went into total angry Joe Biden mode. God damn it. Man. I think I said Jesus Christ. But Hungarians say Jesus. I can't even say it right. But Jesus. Sorry, Jesus. Jesus. I say Jesus Christ. You know? Like my dad did. But Hungarians are like, Jesus. And so, yeah, I don't say that. And like when I say Jesus Christ, everybody looks at me on the bus. It's like, what's wrong with this guy? He's mispronouncing Jesus. Zebra celebrated 4 days of following Sachi today. Wow. Mr. Slow is 6 years of subscribing. You're like a newborn. So this is how we know how long it's been that I've been in the States. Leaving tomorrow, Mr. Slow. Thank you for subscribing. Your Geller game is up next, and I've got a special surprise for you. If you want to stay with us, Mr. Slow, my Geller-inspired disaster from Sunday, which helped me to get down below the FM level. All right. Anyway, so Astrobate takes him out. The guy, he doesn't find, this Queen F6 probably only move, although there is no good move. Basically, the guy lost the game in one move. Bishop G4, Bishop H7 check. Okay, let's be honest. I know that's a strange thing in today's modern world, but maybe Black's better option here is to play King H8. You would like to what? To pause the Geller study for one time, because I have a game from last weekend tournament. Okay. No problem. Being inspired by Geller already made me lose one game, so let's know. I'm not going to blame it on Geller. You guys can see for yourself how I lost on Sunday. I like to have second opinion, Dr. Zebra. So King H8 is a better attempt. Thanks, Mr. Slow. So Bishop H7, King H7, Knight G5 check, King G8, and now Queen takes G4 and G6. The problem with G6, it solves the immediate issue, but the H file looks devastating. I suppose Black can try to trade queens now with like Queen C8, and that's what he does. And that's obvious try, but we don't have to accommodate Black. What kind of accommodation do you have? Holiday Inn. I hate this Costco tendonitis. Every time I laugh or cough, it hurts. I didn't hurt. I don't understand. I didn't injure my sternum. I think I actually hurt it by. I think it started when I laughed really hard. Literally, I think I injured myself by laughing. They say laughter is the best medicine, except when you give yourself Costco genitis or whatever. All right, Queen C8, Queen H4. That's exactly right. Avoiding the exchange of queens and setting up mates down the H file. He cannot prevent the H file from opening. So it's looking pretty fatal, but Black still comes up with a good defense. He plays Queen F5. So kudos to him. Because this is pretty much maybe the only move that doesn't collapse immediately. Actually, it looks pretty collapsing. Yeah, because he's getting mated on both squares. Oh, never mind. Nothing's going to save him. Yeah. So it's the double threat. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Notice the effectiveness of the bishop on c5 when you play against the Sicilian or English. See how effective that is? That's why the Boulder is such a great opening. Queen takes g6, Queen h8 mate. Alright. Mr. Slow is going to send us another game. Um, we have another game by Mr. Coffee also. Uh, we'll pause Geller. Don't know if I'm going to be able to stream. I'm not going to say never. I wasn't going to take my microphone because it's heavy, and I I want to like minimize the amount of stuff I bring to the States. Maybe I'll like leave it there or something and get a new mic. I mean, it's really heavy. It's like a freaking block of iron or something. I want to bring back as much stuff as I can, and I didn't want to take. I want to travel really light, with like an almost empty suitcase in the first place. Now I have to take this heavy mic. If I'm going to take my mic, I might stream. Maybe we'll do a stream or two, but no promises. Can you actually request to be demoted to FM? You know, that's an interesting question. I do not know, Smurfette, but I certainly might deserve to be. But we'll talk about my game a little bit later. I was really, I don't know. I need a good. I used to have a really good a sports psychiatrist. Well, he's a sports psychologist and a psychiatrist, but I had a really good guy. I know a guy, right? My guy was a Harvard professor, and he was an expert sports psychiatrist. And interestingly, I reached my highest peak level when I was working with this guy. But now, you know, I'm a blithering idiot, you know. So he did like tennis players and golf players and stuff like that. It was interesting for him to work with me because he, you know, never had like a chess player as a psychological client, you know. But it was, and I studied psychology, so it's interesting to me anyway. But sports psychology, very interesting field. In fact, like if I had it to do over again, maybe that's something that I could have done for like a career. But anyway, too late for that now. Go back to school. Imagine, what if I went back to school? It'd be like my only chance, right? Go back to school, get a master's. I'd have to get a doctorate though, you know, to be a sports psychiatrist. Well, psychologist, whatever. I'm not going to be a psychiatrist, but still. Probably I could do that, you know. I don't know how I could afford it. I have to go to school here somehow. I can't afford to go to school in the States. Tactics. Alright, anyway. Moving on. Mr. Slow, did you send me the game or are you still searching? Well, we're going to have to see if Mr. Slowhand... Maybe he's chat banned too. Now, I don't understand the whole messaging system on Lichess because sometimes you get notifications, sometimes you don't. It's kind of like hit or miss. Compose message. I don't want to compose a message. I just want to see if he sent me a message. He did not yet. Ilyesh, there it is. I like to pronounce this Hungarianly. Ilyesh. Hungarianly. New adjective. Continue from here. Share. Then I always pick the wrong option. Copy PGN or chapter PGN. Copy. Alright. Sparkle Horse. Profile. Learn. Where's the freaking tabs, man? Study. There it goes. Add a new chapter. Alright. So we're in. We're going to delete. Alright, we're going to delete the other one. So anyway, welcome everybody. Analysis stream last stream before Trumpistan Storage Wars. I'm going to Trumpistan to take part in Storage Wars. Yeah, no, Yesh is somewhat not uncommon. Somewhat not uncommon name. Alright, like family name. So, where the hell did my study go? Did I Did I do this right? All right. I just closed it. Anyway. All right. Other dude. So without further ado, I'm going to remove this Geller game. And we're going to go to Mr. Slow versus Other Dude. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Hungarian is that the language had all these, so many influences. You know, so you have Slavic influences, Germanic influences, words they borrow from German, words they borrow from Slavic, words they borrow from the Turks. So it's Turkish, all these different influences. It's just a big, you know, mishmash of like different stuff. Mr. Slow versus Other Dude. Guys, we reached FM level. We're 2,300 on the donation bar. And Mr. Slow has subscribed. If anybody else wants to be a subscriber, if you're a subscriber, you can submit a game for the analysis stream. I'm going to do however many we get, you know, under 10. So Mr. Slow is white. Mr. Slow, you said this is now? He said, I would like to... Okay, a game from last weekend. All right. Yeah, oof. I hope you did better than me, man. All right. Black plays the French. GM Smurfette. No, that's an old comment. The Astro. It's like a weird fringe movement. You know, people like RFK who believe that Hungarians came from outer space. The Astro-Hungarian philosophy. Just kidding. Okay, E4, E6, D4, D5, E5. Mr. Slow with the advanced variation. I don't play the French, so, well, almost never. So, Mr. Slow hasn't really ever gotten to practice too much against me. But I think we've seen you do this before. We've seen you have games with Sun Prism, I believe, on the stream. But here in this instance, Black plays C5, you played C3. This is obviously very standard. Now Black plays the most standard move, Knight to C6. Nothing funny. I've been off and on playing some weird stuff like A6. Demo Werner did that in the first Saturday back close to 20 years ago. These weird ideas of like bishop there, bishop. I'm surprised there's no more games here. Again, I really doubt the Hungarian. I doubt the Lichess Opening Explorer. I doubt you, Lichess Opening Explorer. There's no way that there's only one game where Black has played A6 in this position. Yeah, A3 could be a thing. But they do A3 anyway, so sure. There's literally 0% chance that there's not more than one game at master level where this move has been played. 0% chance. So I don't know where Lichess gets their games from, but they clearly are deficient. Knight C6, okay. Knight F3, and now Bishop D7. So now we see only 5 with A6. Interesting. All good players too. But I was experimenting. The reason I bring it up is because I experiment with the Kraken and the Franco-Kraken, or Fraken. So we can play a Fraken. I love going on tangents. But the Fraken would be like this. If we do A6, D4, E6, I do the Fraken all the time. Are you fracking kidding me? So the Kraken is the Fraken, but with E6 instead of D6. So it's a Fraken. And so I get this all the time when I'm playing Blitz, especially. Let's say Knight F3, D5, E5, C5. Oh, look, there are games. Cartman. Oh, there are 230 games. Wow, how are there 230 games here, but there's no other games when you just play A6 on the first move? How is that even possible? It's not possible. Anyways, alright. So, new episode of South Park out tonight. The kids get into some kind of like... Oh, you might like this, Mr. Coffee. The South Park gang gets into like apps with what is it, like betting based on odds or whatever, or what do you call that? This is now very trending, but you're like betting on betting on things. An actual Mr. Slow game. Is that a threat or a promise? Knight f3, now bishop d7, and now we have usually bishop d3. That would be the Tarrasch. So this is Mr. Slow's advanced variation. So now Mr. Slow, why no bishop d3? Because of knight b4? Yeah, what's the deal with that? If you play bishop d3, they take. Is that a problem? But why we can't just do a gambit there? Why can't we do... So this is my question. Why can't we just do the whatever, the Johnny Hector gambit anyway? Why does it matter if you played queen b6 or bishop d7? It's still a Johnny Hector gambit, isn't it? You should... Why not play this? So you can tell me, if you play bishop d3, and the point is to not take back, you just, haha, I'm not going to take back. So we just castle. So, Johnny Hector versus Michael Royce. Now, the score doesn't look good. Rapport beat Mamedov. Royce drew. Van Velde beat some guy with black. And Romain Edouard beat Lagarde. But maybe it's just bad luck. Hector beat Brunel. He beat Christoph Renner. He beats the weaker guys. Mike Ivanov, the guy that blogs here. So Mr. Slow's opinion is that, and this is very possible, it isn't as good as when the queen goes to b6. All right. So the jury's out. You know, I'm not an expert, but I will say that I think that queen b6 is more of a suspect move than bishop d7. I think that bishop d7 is a fundamentally better move. You're clearing the back rank for your rook. You're developing a minor piece, even though it's not exciting. Also, Gawain Jones confirmed. Okay. I think Mr. Slow must have like some kind of Patreon subscription to Gawain Jones. You know everything about Gawain Jones. All right, bishop e2. So this is standard stuff now. We've got mainline standard. So let me understand. If queen b6 now, what do we do? You know, can he? Oh, you take, right? You can take. Always take. My friend Zlatko Linčić, he used to be like 25.75. He's like 22.20 now. How is that possible, dude? How is that possible? A grandmaster who 20 years ago was 25.50 plus, and he's 22.20 now. Serbia, he's lower rated than Drazic. And I don't think he throws games for money. You know, some players do. That's how bad rating inflation is getting. You just constantly play Indian kids, and that's what happens to you. You just get like 150 points underrated. No, after queen b6, you're supposed to play d takes c. Even I know that. Yeah, this is a known variation. Rosenthalis, 1997. Dude, Rosenthalis came and he played here in a couple of tournaments. And I played him in the World Senior. He did quite well last year. He's still very strong. And he did not do too well. He played in an open with a bunch of young players, and he finished like middle of the pack. And then he played in a GM tournament with all these young players. Okay, it's not easy. You're like 57 years old or something. I mean, but still, you know, the guy finished with like 4 points out of 9. And, you know, in 2 tournaments or something like that. Bro. Okay, D takes C5. I guess that was his warm-up for the World Senior. That's the main line. DC after an 87 is the blow. Oh, but it's still, I thought it's still a good move here. The blow. I thought this was good too. You know, takes castles and you're threatening B4. I mean, I think the white is better here. I I think that Bronstein David, Bronstein Dave approved this message. Um, but again, that game would probably not be in the database. Wouldn't want to have any of those good games from the 60s or 50s in the database. Black has to play like A5. So what's the evaluation? Slight advantage to white. Yeah, C4 is weird. I don't get the C4. You go here. I guess black plays A4. Now you can go B4. Wow. And take with the knight, of course. This line is good too, I would think. But okay, you don't have to do that. Then resign, okay. So, okay. Castles. Oh, after knight G7, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't like knight on G to E7. You know, that's a move without queen B6. Mr. Coffee played that. That's a normal line. And Mr. Arsenal fan probably knows a little bit of French. But, yeah, no, of course. No, even much stronger now. So if he does knight H6 instead, I think that's a better option, right? This is where a friend of mine had a game where he like took on H6 against the guy. And, well, two friends of mine were playing each other, and they had a game. It was in the Boylston Chestnut Championship, like, 30 years ago. Anyway, white took on H6, and then black later, like, fianchettoed with bishop G7. It was this very tense game. But I think this is probably one of the best ways for black to play. H3 align? I don't believe so, no. I would think that H3, you know, I mean, it's a neutral move. It's probably okay, but there's no games with it. It's a difficult situation. If you play knight A3, you stay on main lines, but you can leave the path with bishop takes H6 or d takes C5. I mean, H3, I suppose, is playable, though you do weaken your G3 square. I would think that H3 is too slow. I mean, playable, but not the best. So this is definitely weird. So apparently this is best. Okay? D takes C5, Sveshnikov, 1977. You know, I wonder about Sveshnikov. If you trace Sveshnikov back, do you come, you know, is it like, you know, 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever? Do you get Nimzovich? What was the name of that movie? Something degrees of Kevin Bacon. But anyway, was Sveshnikov connected to Nimzovich because of the fact that Nimzovich lived in like, it's a stretch. He was, no, but Nimzovich was Latvian, right? And Sveshnikov, maybe Sveshnikov, he didn't he live, did he move to Latvia later in life? I have the feeling. I mean, I don't know. Why do I think that? Alright, so knight on G to E7. Mr. Slow doesn't take. He plays classically here with knight A3. No, because Nimzo like the advanced variation of the French, Murfet. You know, in those times, in the old days, people played like the exchange variation against the French, or even the classical knight C3. But you never, you know, it wasn't standard to play the advanced variation until Nimzovich. Okay, knight A3, and now C takes D4. C takes D4. So we're gonna transpose now. Knight F5, knight C2. This is like main line advanced variation. Shirov, Korchnoi, 2004. Another obviously a connection. Shirov, Korchnoi. Shirov playing the white side of the advanced variation. Total Sveshnikov connection. Um, you wouldn't think the advance variation would really suit Shirov's style. CTX, Rook C8 now. So Knight F5 is more common. Aren't you supposed to play like Knight F5, Knight C2, Knight B4? No, I guess I'm wrong. So this isn't a good move. Kupraichik Eingorn. Eingorn is no longer with us. So Knight C2, Knight F5, Knight C2, and now Rook C8 or Knight A5. Okay. Your opponent, okay, played Rook C8. Shirov again, 2015. Why is Shirov playing the advanced variation? Bro, listen to your inner style. That's like Hikaru playing the stupid Queen's Gambit Declined. Shirov's totally capable of playing like Winnower and stuff. And he's played some good games in the Winnower. I just can't accept him playing the advanced variation. You're here for a good time, not a long time. Shirov plays advanced counter. That's a different story. That's a different story. I would say the advanced Caro is more of an aggressive attacking system, you know. Whereas the advanced French is more solid. But, you know, it's true. Like, Kupraichik was an attacking player. It's a stylistic thing. Okay, there are more than one ways to be an aggressive player. Kupraichik is a perfect example. Amazing tactician, and he played the advanced variation. That was one of his favorite openings. Knight C2. So again, Knight F5 is normal. Why would your opponent put his knight on G6? Other dude. This is why he's other dude and he doesn't have a name. He put his knight on G6. This is worse than what I did on Sunday. Got confused. How does this move again? He got this far. I mean, I guess he's sitting there thinking, well, White's already got it, like, preemptively defended, the d4 pawn, that is. I mean, some people might sit there and be like, okay, I'm afraid to play knight f5 because White can play g4, and I'm scared. But, I mean, honestly, this is a very weakening move. As we can see, it's been played with mixed results. And that knight could go back, really, to either square, but probably e7. So g4 isn't necessarily good. Yeah, I mean, well, that's a dangerous thing for me, Mr. Slow. Like, I have a tendency to be overconfident, and it's often my downfall. So I don't need to be taking that kind of attitude. Like, if you're saying I need to blow him off the board now, for me that doesn't work. I have to be more like, I'll get carried away or something. I would simply say, that's not good. You know, it's not good, and I'm just going to keep improving my position. And we'll see. You know, this is clearly not a good move. And, you know, the first problem is that it doesn't go anywhere. The f4 is covered. Second problem is that you can go g3 at pretty much any time to take away those squares and then support h4, h5. The only bad thing about your position is that your king is on g1 instead of f1. Because, you know, Joel Benjamin, my old friend, and a lot of people would love to play these positions with, you know, the typical rook on h1, king on f1. You leave the king on e1, you get checked on b4. Black misplaces the bishop on b4, then you walk over to f1. You don't castle. It can be better to actually have your king on f1, in other words. We would attack with h4, h5, put the king on g2, and then the rook on h1 is actually better placed. So you did h4. Well, I mean, it's a good move. And Black's already in trouble. If he could hit you in the center with a quick f6, I would say he should do it. The problem is h5 is too fast. So what's he going to do? Like sack a piece or something? I mean, you play h5. f6, h5. What's he going to do? He's going to have to go back. And now he doesn't even have that much pressure on e5. So I would be pretty skeptical of f6. But other options I don't like either. h5 fatally weakens the g5 square. So he played bishop e7. And you know what happens with alpha 0 here, right? So Mr. Slow was, here you were circumspect. You didn't go h5. It almost makes me think that Mr. Slow is trying to encourage this guy. You give him a little bit of rope to hang themselves with. Because I'd like to play h5, but I'd also like black to play h5 so that we can use the g5 square. They're sort of two different results that are both very good for us. By not playing h5, you might tempt your opponent into playing h5 himself. But he actually does something that's probably better. After g3, so I'll just say I think this is probably good. Black has to play knight f8, and then you have to consider very seriously whether to play h6. And then black has to make the really tough decision as to whether to play rook g8 or play g6. Yeah, the computer is always going to like this. At the end of the day, they can close the position with g6, but his knight has no squares. You might have bishop g5 trading your bad bishop off at some point. And you have a huge positional advantage, as you know. Stuff like this, probably, I would expect things along the line of like queen d2, queen f4. But black might well play something like rook g8 or take, So it's hard to know what to expect, basically. I don't think that g3 is a bad move. It slightly weakens you here, but it's hard for black to take advantage of that. And if he plays h5, I think we're happy. But he doesn't. He plays h6, and that's probably a better move. You're not going to get another chance to play h5, h6, so that would have been better. Now you just have a space advantage. And h5, you might argue that h5 would chase his knight from what is already not a good square. Although the following move is the same thing to some extent. But I think the following move, bishop d3, actually is more than a threat that chases his knight. Like, you could say that bishop d3 is a strategic move that improves your position. You could even argue that bishop d3 is a developing move of sorts. It doesn't really seem like a developing move, but it allows you to move your queen to a better square, for example. It gives you more space to put your pieces in better coordinated spots. In addition to threatening bishop takes g6, maybe. It's not just a menacing one-move threat. Now your opponent does a very interesting thing, and I think this might be a good move. He plays knight to b4. He has several ideas here. First off, do you want to give up your bishop to double his pawns? Because I'm not really thinking that you do. And secondly, trading pieces is probably in his best interest. Plus, the main threat from black now will be to play bishop b5, trading off your best piece. So, I feel like knight b4 is probably a decent move for black. Knight takes b4, and now I don't really see any good coming from black playing bishop takes b4 here. He might have been thinking that, oh wow, I'll give my knight a square at e7, but if he does that, he could end up getting his bishop on b4 trapped. I kind of took for granted that black was going to take with the queen. The second thing is that queen keeps pressure on b2. So if you take with the queen, you have to think twice before moving your bishop, because you can take on this guy. I don't know if it's good or not, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. So I don't really see the upsides of bishop takes b4 versus queen takes b4. He may say, well, he'll just play a3, but a3 weakens your position. I don't think you want to do that. You'll weaken the light squares. So it seems more natural to take with a smaller piece, to go forward with a smaller piece, so to speak. But I think in this case, he's actually better off taking with the queen. I don't really see any downsides. I mean, still, h5, knight f8, okay, it's uncomfortable. The queen's just going to go back to where it came from. Or maybe he could play queen a4 or something. You know, who knows? But what's the upside of bishop takes? I mean, I don't really see it, you know. I don't really see the plus side of this. This mistaken idea that knight e7 is like a retreat square. I think here you should seriously consider h5, because if he goes there, well, this is a cheapo, more or less. I mean, you trap his bishop, right? I mean, there's nothing to see here. a5, b4, game over. So, okay, he would see it, right? He would play knight f8. But anyway, what's the point of bishop takes b4? This is better. Take with the queen. Now you see you went queen e2. You would have done the same thing, I assume. You know, had he taken with the queen, you still would have gone here. You still would have prevented bishop e5. You still would have defended your pawn laterally. You could follow up with something like bishop e3, and you're clearly superior. So queen e2 is good. He plays a6. This is a good move, of course, to play bishop e5. That's what he likes to do. Now you played a very concrete move, a4, to stop his idea. But my question now, this is a good game for me because I suck, you know, in like tactical positions, apparently. But, I mean, this game is very, very strategic. I think it's better for me to play a position like this than what I had. I'll show you guys, for example. a4 is controversial, because you're concretely preventing bishop e5. But is it worth it for you to play a4? Because you seriously commit your pawns on the queen side, and b4 remains like an outpost for black. I think this is a very controversial move. I don't think I could play that move, you know. I'm certain that you have more flexible things you can do. And I agree, like, you don't necessarily want to play h5. But I would say, here's the question. Okay, I know, I get it, of course. You need deep understanding to see that white is so much better. Well, I don't know how much better white is. I know white is better. That's about all I know. You know, I'm not going to look at the engine. I don't want to know that it says, like, white is plus 1.75. But I know white is better. But I think you need to understand here to talk to yourself during the game, like Jonathan Rowson or something. Self-talk. So sports psychiatrists and shit like that. You're better, and you want to build your position slowly, but the question is, are you still better after bishop e5, and is it worth it to prevent bishop e5? So does the price that it costs you to play a4, is it worth it? Because does black necessarily equalize if he plays bishop e5? Say you play bishop e3 and black goes bishop e5. Now we have two options. We can take or not take. Taking would damage the black pawn structure. You really don't want to trade queens. I mean, I think you're better here. But let's just say, for example, rook f c1. Castles. Just a fantasy variation. h5, knight h8. Just total fantasy variation. You know, white is spatially better, but, you know, you can't say, like, white is definitely winning, necessarily. So that's like a sample line. You know, maybe you want to take on b5, but black will probably take with the queen. You could move the queen. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that most players, Mr. Slow, would evaluate it that big, but some might. You know, if you're Rosenthalis or Kuprejcik, they have enough instinct in these type of positions that maybe they know that white is so much better, like winning. But I'm not that attuned here. a4 I don't like, you know, positionally. And now black can play that move because his bishop is secure on b4. There's no trap. Well, probably the bishop on b4 is never going to get trapped. Never say never. There could be like a 0.5% chance, but without the ability to play a3, b4, it's unlikely. So, what do we do? Yeah. Bishop e3. It is nice that his bishop practically can't move, And bishop a5 is not a fun move to play for black. Black plays knight f5. Majorly controversial. All right, now, but now, look at the king side. Because you play d4 and you play both d4, Mr. Slow, and e4. And for now, when I see this position, somehow it's weird, but it's reminding me more of like a Slav. But it's like a dream Slav. Like if you think about the Slav, like the long Uva variation or whatever, compare this to like those long variations of the Slav. Look at the king side. Yeah, I mean you're like pointing at the king side with your pieces. You know, this a4. I wasn't sold on it, but now you're beginning to make me kind of make a believer out of me. What is black supposed to do after a4? Because I really don't like knight f5, but I guess he has nothing better. Okay, knight e7, bishop e3, knight f5. He probably doesn't have anything better. Now at least he can take your bishop. I guess that's the idea. Now you play king g2. It's kind of slow. How do you plan on taking back here? There's some interesting questions. But you can't retreat your bishop back because d4 hangs. You could always play king h1, the old, like, you can't check me when my king is on h1. King h1 with the idea of bishop d2. King h1, castles, bishop d2. This is a stupid idea. Just showing these. No, that's not going to work. Alright, so you play king g2. Basically treading water. You know, if you take on f5, your white squares are very weak. King g2, I mean, maybe the more accurate, or I shouldn't say accurate, but the more... Yeah, you can't even really want to play rook c1 because your a-pawn could be weak. Another downside of a4. King g2 and king h2 are engine favorites. So when we go here, king g2 and king h2, well, we're kind of like waiting for black to castle. I mean, what's the idea? You're going to play g4. You're going to take with the pawn. So then h2 is probably more logical, because in these type of positions, if you're going to be pushing this pawn and he's like castling, you'd probably rather have the king on h2. So king g2. That would permit you to do rook h1. Castles g4. And now knight takes e3, f takes e3. And so now it's like all hands on deck, you know. If you're black here, it's time to strap on your Grandmaster thinking cap, because black has a serious spatial disadvantage, and it looks like white might have some rather serious threats. Can't help but feeling like you had another game once you shared that was kind of similar to this. Bishop e7. Very logical defensive move. Against the g5. But you do g5 anyway. And then the million-dollar question, of course, he needs to play h5. If he doesn't play h5, it doesn't look too good. But I guess black at least has to consider other options. Reminds me of the London system or something. You sure this wasn't a London system? What you really need now is like knight h2, knight g4, knight f6 check. So black has a nice c file, the weakness on b4, pressure on your a4 pawn, pressure here. And meanwhile, he you know, was castling even a good move? I mean, can we go back a couple moves here? Should he castle kingside? Because I'm thinking, like, you know, maybe black can not do that, you know. So what about the Magnus Carlsen king walk? What if we do like king d8, king c7, king d8? You'll cut him off. Probably the best policy then is to just not castle or delay castling for black. But it's like hard to come up with constructive moves. Take right away, let's say. You know, if he takes right away, you know, do something like what he did in the game without castling. You know, now it's not so easy for you. He hasn't committed to castling yet. This has got to be a little bit better than what he did, right? So committing to castling gives you a clear shot. It's like a free kick, penalty shot. Bishop e7, g5. Now I'm scared for black. And h5 is an obvious try. So his plan is simply g6 and lock you out. But you have rook f6. When is the Kuprejcik? When are we going to do the Kuprejcik series? We did Velimirovich. I did some Kuprejcik games. Knight g1. Oh, you had this idea. Very traditional sort of knight f4, knight takes h5. But I was really, you know, mainly looking at rook f6, inducing g6, rook f6. So here, this is a very good move because you can combine rook f6 ideas where the knight maybe comes to g5. I could see Nefyadov defending here with black. King g7. Is Nefyadov here today? So he's really asking for it now. He's practically asking you to play rook f6. Mr. Slow didn't go for it. Can I just ask what's up with rook f6? I mean, I guess it doesn't really do anything right away. But I mean, is he ever going to be able to take that? I guess he could try to walk back, right? So he'll move his rook somewhere, like rook g8. Still not so easy, because you can pile on the pressure here. He'll have to take with the pawn. He'll try to evacuate with that. Yeah, this isn't so simple, though. It's true. He can try to escape out there. All right, so rook f6 is not so clear. You're going to go with a straightforward threat of taking on h5. Knight f4, rook h8. Okay, so now we have a double piece sack on g6. Can you say London system, noobs? Everybody say it with me. London system, noobs. Pile up on g6. You're gonna need one more pizza here. You double your rooks, very traditional. Rook f8, and now b3. 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 What a move. b3. What doesn't it do? Okay, b3. With the idea of rook a2, obviously. No, he's defending the a4 pawn. It's a very careful move. So, Mr. Slow, maybe you felt like this was unconvincing. So you're going to be careful. He can't take because rook b1 is very strong. I mean, presumably this is very strong. Here, 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 here. You have pressure. Pretty much all of your pieces. Massive compensation. But okay, the question is, like, how do you finish this guy off here? Do you have a sacrifice somehow on like g6? Can we attack it again? Black always has bishop e8 type stuff. So we're going to see, how is Mr. Slow going to do this? This move, pretty weird. I don't know if bishop b4 helps black in some way, but it definitely takes that piece away from the kingside area. Rook f1, now a5, okay, whatever. Here. And queen c6. Now, what we want to do is get another piece on g6. But he's threatening queen c3 now. So takes on g6 takes with the pawn. I don't see a tactic for you. Black, meanwhile, has this coming in here. So are you serious? You played queen d3? Are you kidding me? Oh my god. Guys, there's some devious looking ideas here. So I'm not gonna turn on the engine or anything like that. Queen d3. So check it out. If queen c3, you see this? It looks like white has amazing shots. Knight h5 check. Ba ba boom. It's brutal, right? Knight h5 check. No engines. b3 was the engine first move. Very careful. Hey, Unleash. You are a subscriber. You can submit a game. So knight takes h5 check. Pawn takes h5. And then the point is rook takes f7. And black gets mated. And it works the same with the rook takes. You were shocked? He would be rocked here. Shocked and rocked. But you can't play queen d3 without knowing that you have an answer for the queen trade. I mean, that's really the bottom line. It's not like you play queen d3 like, okay, I'll trade queens. You play queen d3 knowing you have a winning sacrifice. Because otherwise, it's like, okay, this isn't what you want to do here. Black's going to survive if you start trading pieces. You might still be better, but I mean, not nearly as much. So he must have seen it because he didn't play queen c3, bishop e8, defending. Now this point is weaker. So even, you know, we're starting to flirt with sacrifices on e6 here, but it's not anything immediate. So you went to the c file. And what did you find? Yeah, black's scattered. It looks like black has been blown backwards. The only disadvantage is that your bishop's blocked. Oh, he did trade queens now. Tempting, but mistaken. Though I don't know that black has good moves. I mean, at the very minimum, you can invade along the file like this. You're just winning on the queen side. So he's kind of like gonna either get beat on the f file or the c file. He's lost all files. Queen a6, desperately trading queens, but now you invade and you have knight takes e6. So now he has what, king g8? Only move. Dude resigned. I thought it said draw agreed. So what's the killer after king g8? You have a sneaky trap, don't you? Really nasty. Let's see, bishop takes g6 almost works. But I think there's a problem. Oh no, you have that? Oh my god, no. It doesn't work. That doesn't work. Shit, it doesn't work. I mean, I don't think it works. No, f8's covered. I keep forgetting f8's covered. Okay. So bishop takes, pawn takes. Yeah, f8's covered. Yeah, principal of two weaknesses. Okay. But is there a fast knockout here? Well, he is shut out, right? So his rooks are shut out forever. So you just slowly invade on the c file. Nothing quick. There doesn't have to be a quick knockout. He has no way out. His bishop can't move. He's strategically lost. All right. So great game. Great game. Black just blundered. Bishop d2, knight takes c6 check. And it was over. So that was, Mr. Slow did better than I did. I think Mr. Slow is closer to FM than I am at this point. Soon Mr. Slow will be higher rated than me. I like self-deprecating. Not the only one here. We have a resident pro who left the building. But next up, Mr. Coffee. It's the weekend game analysis. You're definitely closer to FM than I am. You're closer to FM than I am. Get it? I am. Alright, anyway. The other dude went down in flames. Thanks, Mr. Slow. Good game. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Slow donated $50. I did not hear that go through. We had a subscription from Yasensky Nora. We had a Mr. Slow subscription, 6 years. 6 years of supporting our stream. I'd like to thank you very much. And as Mubat said, your support is greatly appreciated. Guys, this is my last stream for a while. I will definitely be back in 2 weeks. There may be a couple streams on the interim, but I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how Radisson Inn's internet is. Hotel Wi-Fi. I'm going to assume I don't have like landline. But who knows? Sometimes hotels will even have like a internet, wired internet connection. But it's not a very good hotel, so whatever. I had to go budget because we're going for 2 weeks. We went with budget. Budget trip to the Trumpistan, and doing Storage Wars for 2 weeks. Mr. Coffee, we're gonna have little Sludgy Fest. International Master Weed Master will probably hang out with me, but not this weekend. He's got baby's cow house sitting duty, so he'll probably come down on the week. All right, guys. We got Mr. Coffee's game. So this is Mr. Coffee, played in a senior Ohio senior getaway, the Ohio Senior Getaway, sponsored by J.D. Vance. Yeah, I can't stop thinking of J.D. Vance. I never really liked the state of Ohio. But my mom's from Western Pennsylvania. I guess I can't hate it, since my mom was from Pittsburgh. It's close enough, but still. Never really did it for me, and now with J.D. Vance, it's even worse. But anyway, Mr. Coffee found a nice little getaway tournament. Unfortunately, things didn't go so well. Now, we don't know what Mr. Coffee was doing there. Because his play, in game one was quite good, and it went downhill. So I'm suspecting, like partying a little too much or something, because there was a clear sort of deterioration in Mr. Coffee's play post round one. But who knows? Just the pressure of, playing players with more points is usually enough. All right, so this is round one from said tournament. It's a senior tournament, and Mr. Coffee is like massively underrated. I mean, maybe not massively underrated, but you are underrated. You are better than 1,500. I don't understand how you got down that low, but playing too many little kids. All right, so Coffee's white. His opponent, Marco Woodchuck. How many woodchucks can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? D4, knight f6, and now knight f3, and now e6, and now Mr. Coffee usually plays the Tory attack, and that's where he's experienced, or the Kali system, closed queen pawn games. But Mr. Coffee is trying to better himself and expand his horizons, so he played c4. So kudos, to trying to do more. And black answered with the Bogo Indian defense. So Mr. Coffee, this is like probably your first legit Bogo Indian with white. Knight d2 is much more subtle and much harder for both sides to play. In my youth, I made it as far as knowing someone from West Virginia. Yeah, I think I have distant relatives in West Virginia. The hillbilly side of my family. The decadent ones. If we go into kind of Lovecraftian horror, I have a very old Pennsylvania family on one side, and going back to colonial times. So we have some family members that probably got, degraded as they moved further and further into the mountains or whatever. All right, Bishop d2. Bishop takes d2 check. So he plays this. Kosich beat me with this once, but honestly, and it's a move that's been played by Magnus. You can see it's been played by Magnus a lot. West Virginia looks like a Kraken. Yeah, I don't know. Ohio's a little more civilized, but because Ohio is like sandwiched. It's sandwiched between some civilization. There was WKRP Cincinnati, right? That was a great TV show. Lonnie Anderson died recently. Okay, Bishop takes d2 check. So, a couple things. I lost to Kosich. I played like Queen takes d2 and did some kind of standard setup with like Knight c3 and e3. Then realized that White's position seems kind of lame. But like 2 years ago at the World Senior, I saw Sarua play White, and he did something that never occurred to me. He simply took with a knight and then played g3. And I think this makes a lot of sense. But if you're not playing the Catalan, then you're not used to setting up like that, Mr. Coffee. But your king side ends up being very, very solid. So I kind of like this. Queen takes is the main move. No, but maybe... Did he do queen takes and g3? Does that make sense? Queen takes, castles, g3. Maybe that's what it was. He took with the queen and played g3. That had never occurred to me. And it's kind of like, okay, why not? This seems very pleasant for White. Bishop takes d2 check. I was angry that I lost to Kosich because it's kind of a lame, like, solid line for black. But I didn't really know what I was doing well enough. So queen takes his main line, black castles, you play g3. It looks like black can play other stuff, but this d5, of course. d5, g3. Castle, bishop g2. Now, this is what Starua did. And that was like 2023. So we can see a lot of games here. Kramnik, Vidit, Andreken, Bakro, Gukesh. It's basically a kind of Catalan. I think that queen takes is more aggressive, but it's not bad what you did, taking with the knight. The problem is that the knight oftentimes is kind of dominated by the d5 pawn. It's just not as active. You can do knight f1, Jay Bonin style, if you play g3. If you play g3, you can maneuver your knight to f1 and e3. If you don't play g3, what oftentimes happens is that you have to actually move your knight back to b1 and to c3 again to get recycled. So now after d6, g3, normal move. But I think what you have to be understanding is that in many cases, the white square pawn structure isn't that advantageous for white, because you'll end up with a lot of pawns on light squares and a bad bishop. So if Karpov or someone like that was playing white, I think that they probably play g3 or even e3 in some cases. But if you play e4, your pawns end up fixed on the wrong color. So you played e3. I think I like g3 the best. Kingside is safer, and you keep flexibility with your e-pawn. e3 is like a little bit passive. So now black castles, and you played bishop e2, also passive. Now, you're in a situation where it looks like black's plan is to play for e5. So you're playing bishop e2 here is a reaction that we'd see like in a Kali system. I mean, basically you have a Kali system where you played c4, not c3. But if you place the bishop on d3, you could potentially be walking into e5, e4 type of forks long run. So if you go here, black will probably set up an attempt to play e5. You're going to have to mitigate that. So it means playing queen c2, keep control of this. Now black keeps piling up. So how do we keep control of e4, ultimately? He's going to just keep piling up. It looks like black equalizing. He'll probably equalize. Okay, but the problem is your option is also quite passive. So that's why g3 is the best. So ultimately, okay, both sides kind of do nothing. Castle, castle, bishop e2. You're both doing nothing. Now here, Ulf played c5. So Ulf is a great player. He never loses almost. C5 is also not a bad move. Ulf is not afraid of like someone exchanging, and it's a draw. It was a draw. No, he beat Skembris. Oh, Skembris was 23-15. He wasn't a GM yet. It was 1982. It was like 6 years or something till Skembris became a GM. Or 5 years. FM Skembris. So he's tied with like, you know, he's tied with Cotronius for making the GM title like the same year or something. Being the first Greek Grandmaster. But I don't remember the year now. But Cotronius was first, actually. C5 is a good move because it fixes pawns on dark squares. And the idea would probably be to control the center, but also maybe fianchetto. I still think like the classical Nimzovitchian kind of approach here, played by Deason, Rip. That had to be like one of Mark's last tournaments or something. 2003, 05. Shit. He was working for the website that I worked for, and he died tragically. Right about that time. It had to be like 2004. He was in his 50s, late 40s. Queen e7. Deason won the World Junior, I think. So Queen e7. Actually, if you win the World Junior, you would get the GM title, wouldn't you? I don't remember. I'm getting distracted. But anyway, Queen e7 is a good move. c5 is a good move. Knight on bd7 is probably reasonable. b6 is reasonable. Played by somebody I don't know. Someone new. Nomkin is down to 2240. Right up there with Lynchich. But he's older. I think he's probably 60s. Okay. So anyway, your opponent played knight on bd7. This is also a natural move. But black is going to have to play b6 or c5 anyway. Castle's b6. Okay. Playing for c5, bishop b7. It's all normal. What do? b4. So Mr. Coffee gets like Yasser Seirawan style. You know, b4 is a decent move. Not a magic bullet, but you are putting your pawns on the right turtle, you know. The turtle attack. This is a total turtle. Look, look at the turtle. He's got a turtle. I thought that black would play c5 right away, but it really, I guess it doesn't matter. He can always play c5. I mean, I don't know. Are you going to go b5? You'd rather have your pawns on dark squares. You would play c5 if you could. Maybe as a pawn sacrifice. It would enhance your pieces, the scope of your pieces. Knight c4, bishop c4, bishop diagonal, whatever. Okay. Bishop e7, and now queen c2. Because the c5 pawn sacrifice isn't really Mr. Coffee's style, and it's also probably unsound. Nice idea, but white most likely doesn't have quite enough compensation. So, what do you do? I don't know. I mean, rook c1, you know, the move you played is very natural, but I would be anticipating black playing c5. However, you also have to consider that he might play for e5. You know, either c5 or e5. Queen c2 is a good move. So here, you control these squares on this diagonal, and I think that makes the e5 a little bit harder for black to play, or less tempting. But still, nevertheless playable. I don't know what you would do here. Maybe rook d1. But if your knight gets pushed back to e1, where's it going to go? Just asking for a friend. So say you play rook f d1. Black plays e4. Do you go here? Or do you go out here, hitting the e4 pawn? And when it's defended, you bring it back here and you try to recycle like you're playing against Mr. Slow in the advanced French. Mr. Coffee plays the French. He's playing the French with white. It's very logical. Okay, queen c2, queen e7. Also a good move. Strangely, we got to an over-the-board game by transposition. By a really weird coincidence. This exact position had happened. And then, would you believe that the white player played the exact same move as Mr. Coffee? I don't think it's obvious, you know. But it's an attempt to sort of discourage c5. If I was white, I think I'd be more likely to play like a rook to d1, probably. Seeing that this line is likely to open. I think there's also rook c1. You could also just, you know, keep moving your pawns up. I think a4 has gotta be a good move too. In that case, he might try to block you, but I don't know that that's good. I mean, you could take, and if rook takes, knight b3, is he going to swing over here? Like someone else we saw recently? Anyways, oddly enough, this exact same game, I don't know where that's from. Mesquite makes me think of black and mesquite grilled mosquito. Mesquite grilled mosquito. Okay, c5, and now d takes c. And the engine didn't like this move. I don't know if you noticed that, Mr. Coffee. I think I recall that the computer, Stockfish, didn't really approve of d takes c. It's a standard thing that people do in the structure, though. And I don't know if you remember me talking about this, but I call it like the Sarawan. So he would normally take, and if black takes with the b pawn, we push, and we try to get an outside pass pawn. But this particular position, you know, it's not that scary for black. You do have a protected pass pawn, effectively. But I don't know, somehow, you know, the fact that there's no dark square bishops on the board, you don't really have very good control of the dark squares, necessarily. Okay, so your opponent takes back with the b pawn. By the way, like, this is a much safer way to take back. And this actually looks a lot like, I think it was a very classic Nimzovich game. Vidmar Nimzovich, or I can't remember. Just one of those very standard Nimzovich games where black just goes like e5, e4, and dominates the center. I think if you took this way, you have to push, and then he plays e5, and now you have a problem. And this is probably why the computer didn't like your move, d takes c. By the way, because you cannot do this. This is a horrible thing to have to do. We don't want to do that. Fixing your pawns all on white squares. It's a last resort. We would prefer to do this, Acerbate. Very familiar with that. But we're a day late and $1 short because black has like e4. And so now we have an issue. A big issue. Black has a space advantage, and it looks kind of serious. All of her pieces are shut down. So I think this is a problem. And therefore, your opponent makes a big mistake by taking back the other way. This is also okay for black, but probably not as good. So now you have this passed pawn, and black plays d5, and d5 is okay. He has a strong, hanging pawns in the center. You don't have to release the tension here. You could take and play this type of structure. And these pawns are strong and weak at the same time. It's a very imbalanced pawn structure, right? I mean, a4 that way. I mean, he has this break with d4, pinning your bishop here. You probably need to defend that at some point. But there's no reason you have to release the tension here. I don't think that black is really threatening anything. The problem with his position, it's like a note boom, where you can't, black can't really release the tension. If he plays e5, boom, goes the light squares. It's like when I play the Blumenfeld with black, I get this type of structure sometimes. He can't push. Well, I mean, he can, but it's his pawn sack. Can he sack a pawn with d4? Probably not. Taking leaves him with a bad structure. e5 leaves him with a bad structure. So he has nothing else to do but kind of centralize his rooks or play what he did. I don't like what he did here. It's your move. Sorry, d5. Well, okay, maybe d5 is a mistake. Maybe black should play something more patient. By the way, the blockading plan with a5 is not stupid. This would give you a protected passed pawn at b5, but it's not easy to break through, and it's not necessarily winning for you. Because if he allows you to play a4, a5, okay, probably he should wait till you play a4 or something. Centralize his rooks with rook d8. That, I would say, maybe black's best. I mean, he wants you to play e4. He wants you to play a4. He wants you to put more pawns on white squares. But having said that, okay, d5's still fine. You waited, good. And now he just, gave you his lunch money, He's like, oh, here's my lunch money, don't beat me up. But black needs to just, not play like me. I mean, lunge forward. Black's idea here was that he could lunge forward and then support it with f5. But he clearly did not calculate, I think, enough. I mean, I don't know. It looks bad. I don't like this move. He should play, again, centralizing rook move. But he was frustrated. So very risky move. Knight takes e4, takes knight d2. Now the problem here is that you could get overrun if you let him go crazy. No, just let him push everything. You get flattened, right? Okay, first question. I didn't look at this too deeply, but I wondered maybe black could consider knight f6 rather than weakening himself with f5. You still have an advantage on the queen side, and that's really going to be a problem. he's going to have to play a5. And ultimately, that's another question then, you know. But f5, okay, radically weakening his kingside. Here, I think you need to start considering f3, f4. If you play f3, black can play queen g5. Maybe not a big deal, and this is kind of similar to the game. You can just defend here. But I do think you're going to need to take measures to counterattack his center. Maybe he didn't. Maybe f5 isn't so bad. Okay, this is an interesting move. Queen c3, preemptively defending e3. Stopping knight e5. This is useful too. You'd like to trade queens. Black now plays rook a d8, leaving him bankrupt as far as trying to play a5 or something. This is where he starts to lose the thread. He should be focusing on the king side. What about like f4 or something? You're probably going to take. I mean, it's harder to play black than you think here. I guess, you know, there's this, maybe. He tosses queen, and if he tosses his queen into g5, you don't have any tactics like this. I don't think you have any tactics. Maybe he could try to play like knight f6, but yeah, I don't trust his structure. He has a lot of pawn weaknesses. And this ultimately is a problem. Rook d8, knight b3. And that's a good square. Of course, c5 kept under pressure, and now black goes stonewall attack, rook f6. So on a bad day, Mr. Coffee would have probably maybe gotten lost here and succumbed to some kind of kingside attack. But in this particular game, it looks like you managed to put it together. So you combine attack and defense. It's good that you didn't play passively now. I mean, the other way you could have played the game, of course, was like, you can't mate me with my knight at f1. And it's also a way of playing. I mean, this would secure h2. You have to consider this, right? And you have the queenside majority. You can keep pushing those pawns. I think in that instance, you're better as well. That would be the more standard thing to do. This was an aggressive plan. Your knight could get kind of stranded. Your pieces can get stranded on the queen side, your queen as well. But he plays queen a5, rook h6, and now... What am I missing here? I'm missing something. No, this is right. It's a nice tactic. Okay. Yeah, black, I think he missed it. I think he must have missed it. It's weird. He probably just, his calculation was like, c5 is double protected. I had to actually stare at the position the second time, because I'm kind of tired, but yeah. So he has no threat immediately, and you're simply taking the pawn. And he's hanging his rook. So you win a clear pawn, but it's not just any pawn. And his bishop on b7 is hanging. So he's royally screwed in just one move. Queen h4, h3. See you later. Rook g6, threatening queen takes h3. I don't think that's even a serious threat. So knight takes d7, and black agreed because obviously queen takes h3, queen takes d8, and mate in 2. So he's lost. f4, desperado, and then a very nice move, knight f6 check. Takes and queen takes check. And now here, and we get to a funny situation where the opponent's king is on h6. Check, king g5. I didn't analyze this carefully when I went over the game. You're winning easily with what you did by trading rooks, and I think it's a very practical choice. It's unclear there's any way to immediately checkmate him. The only way to try would be to take here, and you know, you're kind of flirting with this. But I guess objectively, you probably go ahead and take that. Objectively, this is probably best. But nobody's counting pieces, you know, when you're up a rook or whatever already. So I think it's fine to do what you did. Rook g7, f3, rook takes g6, check takes, bishop f1. Yeah, why take any risks? You're already up a piece. King f5, queen b8 here, queen b7. Yeah, it's over. Okay, so Mr. Coffee managed to dodge any bullets there and did play accurately. No tactical mistakes. All right. Make 3 bishops. So we had an earlier player. Are you still here? Screech. We had a subscriber asking about submitting a game. Unleash. Is Unleash still with us? Has he been unleashed? If Unleashed is still with us, we'll put that game in. Good game, Mr. Coffee. The next game, Mr. Coffee went off. Very strange anti-positional move. All right, while we're waiting for Screech, oh, there he is. Oh yeah, how do I do it? Well, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. We have to get the PGN here, so you can send the PGN to me on Lichess. You can put it in the chat on Twitch, and I can open it there. Send it to Mr. Coffee, whatever you want to do. Uber Chess. Uber Chess. How's Trumpistan? Okay, Mr. Coffee, you got a meeting. I'll see you later. See you on Friday. I'm arriving very late Thursday. Uber Chess, I'm coming to Trumpistan on Thursday. I'll keep you posted if we need any Ubers. Big Don. I bet the UN really did. Somebody at the UN probably really did like fuck the escalator on purpose. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're out to get you. You guys know that's true. Big Don has reason to be paranoid. I bet the UN screwed his escalator on purpose. Alright, we're gonna wait for Unleash's game, but I'm not gonna stream too late tonight because I gotta get ready for tomorrow. So I'm gonna show you guys the disaster. It hurts. This hurts. It's a game that I played on Sunday, and I don't play chess well in the morning, and I've told everyone this already, but this game has some interest because I got to play a line that we played, we analyzed in the stream on Thursday nights, Mr. Slow's Geller games. I got a Boleslavsky variation. Okay, Unleash sent me the game. Alright, we'll go with this first. Switzerland game. Okay. Will that work? We may have no result there. Played here as black. No time left on the clock in the end. Let's see what the study does with it. If I put this in without a result, it shouldn't be a problem. It'll just be moves. Alright. So it's a draw. But, from black's side. Okay. So then we'll do my game. This is really painful. I don't like sharing my losses or wins or anything. But anyway, all right. So last two games, I'm gonna end the stream early tonight. We're gonna do this game from Unleash, and then I'm gonna go to my game. So you're playing black. Unleash is playing black here. You played against the two knights. 3 knights game now. The thing is, like, you don't have too many options here. Occasionally people will play bishop c5, and I don't think that has a great result. So there are not a lot of options. You can play passive d6, Steinitz style stuff, or, you know, bishop e7. I've experimented with g6. There's bishop b4. But at the end of the day, I mean, knight f6 is the best move. There's not a lot of openings where that's the way, you know. But unfortunately, it just is the best move. But it's, you know, the 4 knights. White plays g3, and now if you really want to unleash, you can play the hyperventilation attack with knight takes e4. It's a Halloween Gambit. It's like Halloween Gambit reversed. But I don't really recommend that. I'm just notifying people that that's a possibility. This might be better than the Halloween Gambit. I don't know. It's probably better than the Halloween Gambit. So anyway, yeah, well, there's two schools of thoughts on this Uber chess. There's people who like opening the game and people who don't like opening the game. This is very, very much a stylistic choice. If you like open positions, then d5 is fine. If you don't like open positions, then it's not for you. You know what I mean? So you can't say Mama says. Mama says d5. Well, if Mama's children don't like open positions, then she shouldn't be telling them to play d5. This is a stylistic choice. Yes, d5 is a critical line, but that's not for everybody. So bishop c5, I mean, objectively, I think the Sicilian is better in terms of playing for a win. But honestly, e5 is a better move. And I think that we see that with the engine and everybody. And I guess it's not a secret, you know, ultimately. There are players who are capable of scoring better with e4, e5 than with the Sicilian. Or you could go more hyper-modern. But I think it's good to be able to play both. It took me too long to incorporate e4, e5 into my repertoire, because I was always playing hyper-modern stuff with black. You play bishop c5. This and d5 are the main moves. So now bishop g2, black plays d6. I don't know if it's bad to play d6. I'm just a caveman. Dude, Kyrgyz was transsexual. Kyrgyz was a man. Alright, Uber driver. How old are you again? No, I think the Kyrgyz limited his winning with black a lot by never playing like Sicilian. And there's other players that suffered similar fates. There's a lot of aggressive players, although Kyrgyz was a controlled aggression. I think, like, for example, Nesbedinov, also playing a lot of e4, e5. There are certain e4, e5 players who I think would have won more games had they played more like Sicilians. There's a time and place for solid, but there's also a time and place to try to take some chances and win. I think that Paul Kyrgyz might have scored even better if he had incorporated, you know, maybe more Sicilians or something, but okay, it works for him. Whatever works for you. So, should black castle or play d6? You know, I would say, like, if you castle, there's still a chance you could play d5, but it's not likely. White has so much pressure on d5. You know, if you had your chance to play d5, you didn't take it. So, um, Rosenthalis game with black, Elvest with black. There's nothing wrong with castling. It is the most fundamental move. d6, okay, fine. You defend e5, and now white plays h3. And the idea is to take away the g4 square. But, yeah, I've been experimenting with this stuff with white, and I think that bishop g4 is annoying, but it's not necessarily a good move for black. So white doesn't have to play h3. I mean, d3 is solid. Bishop g4 isn't really a great move, I would say. You know, you're just inducing white. Bela played this. My old distant neighbor. h3. Now, I don't think you want to do this for black necessarily. That's a game like Berliner Summer. Gleck versus Lengo Bela 1991. Actually, that could have been here in Budapest as well. It wasn't necessarily Berliner Summer. It could have been played here. Gleck was probably playing in some early tournaments. Though it's more likely an open. I mean, Gleck was very strong back in 1991. This is his system, by the way. The G3 is Gleck's specialty. So anyway, white plays h3. It's okay. Castles, d3, and now you played h6. So at the end of the day, is h6 necessary? I like delaying d6 because a lot of times bishop e7 is a good response to bishop g5, you mean? Yes, that happens in the Vienna game, for example. You think it would make what? F4 strong for white in the future? You mean f4? You don't like h6? I just think it's controversial, you know. I think it's a controversial move, but it's very dangerous to play these types of positions like planlessly. It's even possible that bishop g5 is dangerous. Let's take a look at someone played knight h5 in this position. That's insane. Wow, what an insane move. That's totally insane. That's a really crazy move. Okay, a6. This is Vallejo or Michael Adams. Swat Gleck, 1998. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Swat Adalik versus Igor Gleck, 1998. So Swat's playing his own system against him with white. And Gleck, now who knows? Maybe it was a friendly draw, but I mean, well, what Gleck would play this against his own system, so it must be the best. All right, let's see who played h6. Because look at this. Morovich and who played a6? Ivanchuk, Van der Steren, Morovich, Gleck. I've seen enough. It's a good move. Yeah, knight a4 is a threat. It's a threat. But Uber Driver, I think you also have to consider that maybe black can allow it, you know? Because in closed positions, oftentimes the bishops aren't better than knights. I think black's real problem here is that he just doesn't have any really constructive moves. You know, another suggestion would be like a5. Oops, there's some games. Matlikov played it. Peter Wynn, I am from Czechia. No, I mean, but normally a6. So h6, but how bad is h6? So your point is that f4 might be stronger. Well, I think our main problem is knight a4, right? That's the problem. Yeah. So if knight a4, you have to either let white take on c5, recapture with the d pawn, or bring your bishop back to b6. Now, sometimes it can be annoying like this, because black, my experience playing white, I've had a bunch of games that went like this. And white has to attend to that a file thing. And there's nothing white can do on the king side to like crush black quickly. But I think that white is a little bit better. You know, that's the point. So a6 is better. Now the question would be, is there anything that white can do here? So Michael Adams, 1998, winning with white. Did he play bishop e3 or did he play castles or g4? I got lucky and I picked the right move. And Suat played this as well. And Frank de la Paz, Cuban. It's a very solid move for white, bishop e3. It also makes a6 look a bit of a waste of time. Alright, so you played h6. It's still not so bad, but white should play knight a4. It's very strange here that neither player played knight a4. Both Brushkern and other guy. On the other hand, yeah, I mean, it's not like the end of the world for black. Alright, so knight e4, your guy did it. Wow. And so this one player from 2010 played bishop e6. And I think it's a reasonable move. You're expecting knight takes c5, you take back with the pawn, and most likely black can put the queen somewhere like d6, try to pile up pressure. So bishop e6 looks reasonable. Most of my opponents have, I'd be surprised if I didn't have this position, but I probably would have castled first. I don't know. Let's see if I ever had a game here with white. No. Okay. So I'm expecting takes, but this looks reasonable. Anyways, you played bishop e6, also reasonable. White takes, and now c4. Yeah, I don't like c4. I understand why he played it, but I don't like it. Maybe it's not bad. Because I look at this position and I think, well, why is white better, or what is it about this position that white has, you know? I was thinking about that bishop g5, yeah. On a sidebar. You mean a6? Yeah. Bishop g5, h6, bishop h4. The crazy. Threatening knight to d5. I mean, maybe it's not really a big threat. This is certainly very artificial for white, and like, first of all, we have to, the obvious. King g7 loses to knight d5. We have this here, and then the old, like, queen f3, king g7. Plan will be rook h8. Let's see what the computer says. Well, I mean, knight d4 is a threat for black immediately. So probably have to go here. I don't trust white sack. You know, I don't think that it's enough. It's yeah, it's dubious. But king g6 is the best move. Oh, f4 instead of queen f3. That's another approach. Yeah. Of course, this is not exactly a normal situation because white's king is on e1. There's a bishop on c5 controlling that diagonal, and white isn't, like, castled. But yeah, he could castle queenside. You have rook f1 ideas. This is true. Plus there's f5. It does look legitimately dangerous. Yeah. This is very strong. This is a problem. So we can't do g5. After bishop h4, black will have to be more patient. But at the end of the day, you know, it's not clear that white has a threat. No, it's unclear. I mean, if we go to Lichess Opening Explorer, I'm going to find some games. Just to get an idea. Huh. 18 out of 30 moms played g5. And it's not good. Then we have a selection of other moves. The best move for black is bishop e6. And now, things are unclear. g4, knight d5. This is very crazy stuff. Very crazy stuff. So bishop g5 is worth, if you like playing unclear positions, bishop g5 is worth a shot. But basically, I mean, are you going to play like, you know, you can't play bishop takes f6. You have a stupid canal variation with your bishop on g2 instead of c4. You have to commit to these piece sacrifice ideas with bishop h4. This is, yeah, definitely a thing. Okay, so the game was knight a4, bishop e6, takes, and then c4. So I don't like c4 because white has a dark square bishop, black doesn't have a dark square bishop. Bishop g5, knight e7, without doubled pawns. Go find Arsenal fan. Put him in like the. Put him in the machine with that like mixes people together with Joseph Henry Blackburn. We get like a modern version of Blackburn. And play like knight e7. Sure, driver, sure. It doesn't look safe. Your level is important to read stuff such as great predecessors. Well, I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, all quality chess books should be consumed if you have the time and money. Things like, yeah, quality chess books, of course. I mean, Great Predecessors is a quality chess book. How many books has Gary Kasparov authored, you know? Only a handful. But c4 is... It's a controversial move, because I think that white is stronger on the dark squares. White, like you were talking about with f4. f4 is the plan, man, for white. You know, you want to play f4, maybe even d4, but really f4. And you want to crack open the dark squares. The key to the position is the dark squares, because black has a dark square bishop. Not just sacrifices on h6. The dark squares all over the board. But c4 doesn't do that. It's like playing for white squares. You don't need to play for white squares here. You need to play for dark squares. This move I don't really understand. Bishop e6 feels like developing for the sake of development. And I think it's almost certainly a mistake. Especially against c4, which has shut down d5 for good. No, if you played b5, I wouldn't like wince. Maybe tactically this doesn't work, but at least it's kind of an idea, you know. Black should be focusing on the white square play, and white's supposed to be focusing on dark square play. Because white has a dark square bishop, black doesn't. But I think your plan, you know, here for black is, what? b5 break, pressure on the a file, and f5 if you can get it. f4, f5, of course, it looks really good for white, Mr. Slow. But he's also not castled yet. He needs a couple more moves of development. Plus his knight's in the way. But I mean, you could make the same argument for f5 being good for black. It's a standard e4, e5. Exactly. So IT 12 win, says 97. I agree this should be seriously considered. Because this is the idea, knight c5, and we play for f5. Not bishop e6. And the other option, of course, you could move the knight to a different square. Knight h7. I mean, even Capablanca and Lasker played moves like this. Right. Knight c5, knight e6, knight d4. But mostly, I think we want to consider f5. Now, the thing about the position that's unusual is the fact that white has a bishop on g2. And so that's what makes chess hard. Because on the one hand, black's break, f5, would be favorable. But on the other hand, f5 will liberate his bishop on the long diagonal. So, like, which is right? Well, c4, it's an interesting move. It's not a bad move. It's just not the plan I expected. But it stops d5. It does stop d5. But it doesn't stop b5. So if I could get this in somehow, I'm very curious about this move. Can it be tactically, somehow tactically justified? Here. Because you can't attack my knight with a3. I mean, you're not threatening to take it right away. This move is probably not going to work, but I just wanted to throw it out there. b5 is close to working. It's close to working, if I could get it in. Bishop d7 takes away our knight square. Yeah, I think I would play knight d7 in most cases, heading for c5. Yeah, bishop d7 also promotes maybe possible b5, but I don't know how we're going to make it work exactly. Meanwhile, white is going to do his best to play f4, f5. So this move, I don't understand what the plan is. It feels like developing for the sake of developing. Castles, and now I understand the plan. You wanted to play queen d7. How silly of me. You know why I didn't see this plan? Because I didn't think it was enough. Very standard idea what you're doing here, but white easily defends h3. So this is a problem. After king h2, what are we going to do? So your idea will be move the knight h7 and go f5? That's what you did. Well, let's see if it works. You're threatening to play f5. It reminds me a little bit of this Nimzovich game. Knight h4 here. Knight h4, knight d4. f4. Do you have knight g5 now? Triple attacking h3? Wow. Then f4. I don't want to see that. This is kind of the problems that we're going to run into. So that's funny. There's a game here. We're actually following that game from 2022. The guy played b3. What the heck? How can you play b3 here with white? He has like all day. I recognize this guy's name somehow. I don't know. But anyway, b3. This is so slow. And now f5, of course. But an obvious question. Okay, what does black do after knight h4? Obvious answer, knight d4. Okay. Guarding f5. And now, on f4, we don't have much choice. Because passive f6 looks horrible. Black would have to answer f4 with f5. I think. And now there's a huge problem here. with knight g6 and knight e5. Takes. If we take here, you have knight g6. So, yeah. But let's see what the computer says. It likes b3, that's the engine move. Wow. So I am missing something. b3 is the engine move for white. I mean, okay, it's not a terrible move, but it was played by the engine, by this guy in 2022, is for d4. It's like just kind of a slow move. I mean, what's wrong with knight h4? Oh my god. Well, nothing's wrong with knight h4, apparently. I would play knight d4, and the computer says that white is slightly better. But our f4 is very interesting, because black has the strange move queen a4, offering a trade of queens. The offer that he can't refuse. If you avoid the exchange of queens, how do you avoid the exchange of queens? Queen h5? Oh my god, you can't avoid the exchange of queens. It's a miracle. So b3 is to prevent queen a4. Alright, now I get it. This is really also very weird. But I think that white has full compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Yeah, g5 after this takes ace, but this is not clear. I think that white has compensation. And a lot of aggressive players would be willing to sack this pawn. Including me. And they might go down a pawn and lose the game, but if you want to play for a win, I mean, this seems like a logical way to go with white. b3 prefers, I get that to some degree. Yeah. It's also a way of playing for d4. White doesn't have to play for f4, right? All right. He doesn't have to go for f4. b3 is a move. Yes, it supports d4 by guarding the c4. White has possibilities of bishop b2. But, you know, it doesn't stop the fact that b3 is a very slow move. Black can get an f5 before white plays that. Now the best move is knight g1. And I just want to say something here. If you analyze these Gleck variations, this is not an uncommon occurrence. Knight g1 is not an uncommon occurrence, and also with black in the closed Sicilian type structures. This is not a surprising move. That's best according to Stockfish. Knight h4 is still good. So here your opponent played bishop b2. And now, well, white is like baked structurally now. He has to allow pawn takes pawn. Okay, it's not that bad. Black can also consider f4. But I think here, you know, you start to see the point. So this is a much safer way of playing with black. Pawn takes pawn. And I don't think white is gonna like sack pawns or anything. So takes. Now the knight on h7 is still not good. Black plays rook f7. I wonder about where to put the rook though. f6 is just in the target zone. So I mean rook f7 looks logical. You could also play g5. So Mr. Slow likes f4. Shut the bishops down. White will play d4. Can we keep them shut down though? You know. This is not clear. Because there's a threat of d5, you know, we have to do something. We have to take. White will take back. There may be tactics, you know, maybe you will get a tactic. Um, it looks actually pretty dangerous. It looks good enough. There's also this very nasty. So d4 is not so easy. See what the computer says? f4 is best. Yeah. f4 is best and black is better. So it looks like Rakesh Kumar and your opponent both didn't find the best moves here. BB2 is not good. I mean, he needs d4. And the bishop supports d4, but it's time consuming to get that in. So Mr. Slow is right. This isn't an accuracy, the other way was better, but it's still okay. Black is still okay. I think that g5 worth considering. It would shut down knight h4. I mean, it is a typical like minority attack type of thing. g5 here. It would weaken f5 permanently, but you know, he needs time. He needs a lot of time to, you know, 91, 92, 93, blah blah blah. Let's see, rook f7, standard close Sicilian style move. There's 91 here. And then not what I expected. So 93, suddenly white wants to support f4. I thought he was going c2, but his pawn's also attacked. Yeah, he has to defend the pawn. So this is like forced. And now h5, you're quick. You're really quick here. Wow. So that's why knight g1 would be better. To guard both of these squares. But I mean, the other problem with bishop b2 is like why I lost Hjartarson last year. I have a hedgehog where I'm white and my bishop's on b2 and nothing's guarding this diagonal. You know? It's a problem. It's a real problem. I mean, white has serious like pawns on light squares. Like 5 out of 7 of white's pawns are on light squares. His bishop's on b2. Well, what the fuck is defending this diagonal? You know? You got nothing protecting f4. It's all fine and good to put your bishop on b2, but if you can't get an f4, what is it doing? It's just hitting a rock on e5. And the whole plan with b3 and bishop b2 is okay, but it's kind of slow. So 91 isn't enough here. Now black is better. Rook f8. And so you didn't even need to play g5. This looks quite strong. So what about sacking a pawn now for white? What about f4? We gotta seriously consider f4 here. If f4 works, all hell could break loose. Could this work? We're gonna sack a piece with knight takes c4, bishop takes h3. Bishop takes h3, f takes g5. Bishop takes g2. Rook takes f1. Bishop takes h3. Oh no. That works? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. And if you take here, rook takes f1. Bishop takes h3. Rook takes d1. Bishop takes d7. Rook takes a1. Bishop takes a1. That's a very strange position. White is lost. Oh my god. White is lost. Yeah, well, he's down the exchange. No, he's got 2 pieces for the rook, but they're too difficult to defend. Speaking of better coordinated, wow, it doesn't work. f4 can even win. No. Well, I mean, it could, but bishop h3 is too strong. So queen h5 was a good move. Well, it was a move. Check. Speaking of coordinated, now the king moves in, and now what is that queen? Speaking of coordinated, now white's queen is almost trapped. He has no squares. One square. So king h7 actually threatens to trap the white queen. Major problem here, Houston. I'm feeling a serious lack of oxygen. So white comes up with this. Obviously. Oh no. The exchange sack. Of course. And now you're still threatening g6, winning the queen. Ugh. So white's going to have to sack their queen now. It's pretty funny. Queen f3 takes. So 2 rooks for the queen. It's exact material equality. 2 rooks for queen and pawn. But black has a better structure, and like Mr. Slow said, black is a little bit better coordinated. And also, white's king isn't super safe. This thing, and that pawn on f3, the bad bishop, this is a natural try. Here. He plays queen f7. Wow. I would think that white, yeah. No, it's not a pawn. Now it's 2 pawns because we got the h3 pawn. Now we're odd material. You missed the forced win. Well, I think that most people would probably sack the queen, sack the rooks back, but this endgame looks probably winning for black. No, because the bishop is so bad. Maybe not. King is very good. These squares are so weak. It's actually not that clear. I think he should try it, you know. You might not get another chance. He should take on g6 and try his chances. You had a forced win. Bishop f7 was a better way to win the queen, apparently. Because you keep an eye on h3. You weren't looking for that when you played king h7. That's one way. But it looks like everything you did was okay. You know, maybe queen f7 isn't the best. No, it is, actually. Well, I think you're still winning, but yeah, maybe you had a better way to win. So he doesn't do it. I would have taken on g6. This is devastating. This is devastating now, though. You know, your 3 pieces are coordinated and white's king is in trouble. And he doesn't take. He can't take because he loses the rook. Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, you played very solidly. Nobody cares about the b7 pawn. The queen and knight are a very good combo. He should take on f4, I guess, but that'll let your queen in on the dark squares. Yeah, maybe here you're playing a little too slowly. Although g5, yeah, he had to defend that. So it's a draw. So you're probably like winning in the final position. Rook g6 loses f3 bishop. What are we talking about? Oh, in that position, yeah. So I just threw that on the board. Thanks for putting that out, Mr. So. So wasn't an option. Of course he would have done it. Yeah, I didn't even bother to see that. Minor detail. He never had a chance to do that. Yeah, I completely missed the point. So you're always winning. It looks like you're always winning. And you gave him a draw in what was likely a winning position. You're still winning. But maybe time. Actually, the engine doesn't like king h5. Yeah, I don't know. You were very hesitant on the queen side. But okay, it's easy. It's easy to say. It's easy to say that. d5. Wow. Some kind of decisive breakthrough on the queen side, but it's hard to make up your mind, like, which one to play. So you're not actually winning in the final position. It's not so clear. Guys, I'm going to take a break for like 2 minutes, and we'll go over the last game. Be right back. Guys, I'm back. Last game. I'm cutting a little bit short tonight because I have to get ready for my travel tomorrow. Thanks, Mr. Slow, again for the $50 tip. Interesting game there. Black should have been winning. Time probably factor, but also things were a little hesitant. I had to find a breakthrough. All right, I just want to show you guys how I lost on Sunday. Mr. Slow, my opponent was a FIDE master who's like 22. And he plays all kinds of weird clotheslines. Brasilimo, not weird clotheslines, but on Brasilimo. I was expecting a Brasilimo. And I mean, a Moscow variation with Bishop 5 check. If I play Knight C6, he'll probably play Bishop B5. And people have me narrowed down there. So I decided to play D6, and I think he was really surprised that I played D6. Because I normally don't often use this move order. And he went to some backup plan. I think the guy did not expect me to play this move order because I play a lot of different things. But usually when I play classical Sicilian, I'll play knight c6 on move 2. I have played this move before, but not that frequently. So he almost always plays bishop e5 check. And there's even been some games where the guy would go d4 and take with the queen. But he never plays open Sicilians almost. So I spent all my preparation on this and teaching myself how to play knight d7. Trying to learn how to play the knight d7 like Moscow variation, and the guy doesn't play bishop e5 check. So he goes d4. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he's gonna play the Moscow variation with queen takes d4. I almost played knight f6, and I said, well, if I play knight f6, maybe he'll do something weird like take on c5. So I'll just take, and I'll take with the queen. And I was prepared for this because I was going to play a6 here. He had some other game in this line that wasn't very impressive. So the guy goes knight takes d4. I'm like, what? And now I got paranoid, like Trump with the escalator, and I started to see these ghosts and stuff. I thought if I play knight f6, the truth is if I play knight f6, he's probably gonna play knight c3. But I was convinced myself that like he has some trap. Like if I play this, he's prepared to play some line that I don't know too well, like f3. So he doesn't seem to have done that. But I played knight c6, which is not a great move because it allows Marazzi. But I'm not afraid of the Marazzi because I play the black side of the Marazzi. And the guy knows that I can play the black side of the Marazzi well. So he doesn't play c4. He plays knight c3. I'm like, what's going on here? You're letting me play like a mainline Sicilian, and you never played the white side of open Sicilian. I play knight f6 now. And then he goes bishop e2, and I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody plays bishop e2. And we were just looking at these games. We were just looking at Geller, right? So it's like, oh, God. God. It's like planned. I was meant to play e5, The problem is I never played e5 in a tournament game. And I've never liked those type of structures. But I got inspired because of our study of the Geller games. And so I decided, and he'll never expect me. He probably prepared for me to play the dragon because I always play the dragon in the classical Sicilian. You could prepare based on my games with Nefyadov here, some kind of line or something. So I'm like, okay, he won't know that I'm going to play the Boleslavsky, right? So I played the Boleslavsky, and honestly, they could play some really lame stuff like this. Or Carlsen has played knight f3. But he doesn't know what he's doing, suddenly. So the guy's like not prepared for me to play the Boleslavsky. He's surprised. He plays knight b3. I play bishop e7, and now he tricks me. Because the normal line is castle. Not intentionally, but somehow. He tricks me off of main lines with bishop e3. And I'm thinking like, well, what's this guy trying to do? Why is he delaying castling? Is he going to try to play g4? And after the game, he mentioned something about that in a we had like a 1-minute analysis. And I thought, well, what's he going to try to do? Castle queen side? It wasn't a Geller game? Didn't we see this? Am I making that up? Did I have some hallucination? Where am I getting that from? I thought there was a Geller game with black. There was a game with black. Wasn't it? A few weeks ago. I'm not making this up. Well, it's not quite that simple. I to a12 win. It's not that simple. No, remember black played castles a5. Knight c6 instead of a6, it was a Boleslavsky. Okay, but... No, I don't understand. This is instead of a6. This is a Boleslavsky variation. This is the Boleslavsky variation. There's no a6. You're confusing me, man. Geller played the Boleslavsky variation. Exactly, this is a Boleslavsky variation. There is no a6. We have the correct position. It involves playing a5, so black clearly did not play a6. You're confusing me. You're really confusing me. Alright. But I didn't know what to do, so I decided to wait and play bishop e6 and see what he was going to do. And now he plays bishop f3, which is a classic move in the Boleslavsky. And so, I mean, we're like both out of book, and this is a very rare position. But I'm like, what is this guy's deal? Like, he's going to try to castle queenside? I said, okay, I don't care. You know, I'm just going to play a5, which is a normal plan anyway. But apparently it is inaccurate to play a5 here. I'm supposed to castle. I think he was going to try to do something crazy like g4. And you can see there's some games here. But it worked out for me. This is inaccurate. It turns out to be inaccurate because of this game here where the young Richie Rich lost in 2017 with a5, knight d5, bishop takes d5, so e takes d5. The problem is that white can play like, see, this is how Geller played, but his opponent played worse. Kuipers, the other Kuipers, gets like, not Stefan Kuipers, the other one, I don't know who this guy is, another Kuipers. He gets like an improved, whoever that was, Ivkov, or, I don't remember. Who was it playing white against Geller? White ended up getting an improved version here in that game. So a5 is inaccurate in this exact position because white can play knight to d5. But my opponent didn't know that. You know, so he ends up playing the stupid move a4. So it all worked out in the end. Like, this is exactly what I wanted. And I got knight b4. I should play it right away, but I wasn't sure. So I said, okay, let's be fundamentally... I want to see what happens. Let's just castle. And now he gets even weirder. Knight d5 would be like kind of normal. He goes queen d2, and now I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know, what is this guy doing? And black has a very good position. Some guy here between two Greek players actually played bishop c4, but I didn't like bishop c4 because I thought, okay, if he plays bishop e2, well, I mean, what am I really achieving here? You know, I don't want to trade my light square bishop for his light square bishop. I didn't think this was even a good idea. I mean, his opponent if the opponent plays something crazy like g4, okay, but I went here. This is better. And now I'm expecting my opponent to like castle. He refuses to castle. He plays rook d1. And would you believe this position happened in a game? An actual game. As random as like both sides moves are. The exact position happened. And again, you see somebody here, a 2000 player against a 2445. Black played bishop c4. But I don't get it, you know. Again, I don't get it. Like, okay, it's fine. But why can't white play bishop e2? I mean, there's actually nothing wrong with this move. Yeah, black can play a lot of things, and black is slightly better, but in that case, white played knight c1. It's also playable. I mean, this game, black won because he's 2400, and white is 2000. I mean, maybe bishop c4 is a better move. I might have made a mistake. My opponent thinks my move was a mistake, and I probably agree. But I'm not sure what the best move is for black. I mean, do you play rook c8? I mean, with a5 in, do you really want to play rook c8? Do you want to play... I mean, probably the best move turns out to be kind of counterintuitive, like queen c7. You're thinking like, oh, you never want to do that, but it doesn't matter. He can't play knight b5. Queen c7 is fine. It turns out this is probably my best plan, just simply queen c7. And then I'm threatening to play queen c6. But also like rook d8 and playing for d5. So I made a mistake now. I played queen c8, which is a normal idea in a lot of positions, to circumvent knight b5, but it leaves this b6 square weak. I didn't think it was a big deal. He castles. Black is fine. Black is better. But now I like blundered here. And the question is like, what should I do? Well, what I should do is queen c6. Everything is attacked. Like a4, c2, e4. I'm threatening rook d8. Everything I just said. d5. Black is just better after queen c6. But here I just like... I told you, I don't know if you weren't here for the stream, guys, but I was playing at this table, and this sounds like a stupid excuse, but I'm serious. Like, the table was too narrow. The table itself. And so, when you sat at the board, there was only like a half an inch of space to like put your elbows on the table. It was extremely uncomfortable. I've had this on a few occasions. You couldn't like rest your arms on the table. There was no place to like put your hands and shit, you know? It was like having no arms or something. I couldn't sit at the board and put my elbows on the table. So it was more comfortable like just standing up and walking around. So I started to play like fast, and the following move was like a blitz game. Now I went completely acerbate, knight g4. And it looks like a reasonable move. Because if he gives me his bishop, I expect him to take, f3, go back, and then I'm slightly better. But the thing he has is this stupid bishop b6 move, right? Attacks a5. Now, listen to this, right? Listen to this. I'm an international master. I'm playing like shit, but I used to be pretty good. And after the game, the guy asked me, did you miss bishop b6? Dude, seriously? My queen is on c8. I just put my knight on g4. Do you think I missed bishop b6? Like, I can't see bishop b6? That's a stupid question, bro. You know, I didn't miss bishop b6. I saw bishop b6. I was inducing him to play bishop c6. I practically forced him to play bishop c6 and b6, and he asked me if I saw it. Like, fuck you, man. Of course I didn't miss it. What kind of question is that? I saw it and I was like Mr. Deep, you know? I'm like, oh, but I'm a genius. I'm so genius. I can do like, you know, super genius things. I'm gonna trade off your good bishop. And I miscalculated. First, I miscalculated something very simple, right? I thought I can play bishop d8. But then I realized if I play bishop d8, queen d6, rook a6, he just takes here. And he's just totally winning. I can't pin him to the bishop, to the queen. That was the first idea, you know? I thought I'll play bishop d8, I'll trade off his dark square bishop, and I'll just be better. You know, this is terrible for white. But here, actually, my best move was to, like, just come back, it turns out. He takes on a5, and it's very unclear. Bishop takes a5, knight c6. I think... I'm getting confused now. Actually, I think it's knight takes c2. Knight takes c2, queen c2, bishop takes b3, queen takes b3, rook takes a5. It's, like, equal. But I didn't want to do that and admit I made a mistake. And so then I thought, oh, no. It's no problem. I can do rook a6, right? But he still has this. But I still have knight c6. And the guy's so lucky you know, that he has knight d5, and after bishop takes d5, he can take both ways. On pawn takes or queen takes are both playable, and all of his pieces like miraculously defend each other. So I didn't see he could take with the queen. I thought he was just going to take with the pawn, take here, take here. Um, I don't know what I do next. What's the evaluation? Bishop d8, and I'm completely equal, for example. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I could have done all these things, but I'm like, no, I'm a genius. I'm going to sacrifice a pawn for the initiative. So I play bishop d8. He thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks forever. He takes the pawn, of course. Simplistic, easy move to play. Bishop takes b6, queen b6, and now I thought I'm a super genius. I'm like freaking, you know, I'm like basically Wile E. Coyote in chess form. And he's the roadrunner. And he's just like doing the obvious shit. And I think I'm a super genius. And now I'm like, knight f6. I don't take. I go knight f6, and I'm down a pawn, but I don't care. You know, I've got pressure on this. He has a bad bishop. I have all of my pieces are very active. I'm threatening stuff like rook a6. And he just takes another pawn. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You know, this is really risky looking. I thought he would play like rook d2, and that's actually the best move. After rook d2, he's seriously better. He's up a pawn, and I don't have quite enough compensation. I could do something like this. Like, honestly, I just don't think this is too easy for white to win, you know. I don't think, like, an average player is going to be able to beat me here. Even though he's up a double pawn or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But the guy takes the second pawn. And then I'm like, okay, the plan was get your knight off there, take on c2. I'm going to take on c2. And then I'm going to put my knight on d4. So I get this position. He plays rook c1, and now I fucked up. I should have just stuck with the plan, which was to play knight to d4. You sack a pawn, you play for the initiative, you try to be creative, you're trying to win with black while all the other players on your team are cowards, and they just make like quick grandmaster draws with all their opponents. Put me on board 6, make me play like a young FIDE master. I don't care. I'm playing for a win. I don't care who it is. I'm not giving the guy a draw with black. And what do I get from my efforts? You know, I get this position. We're both getting, like, you know, a little bit low on time. And now I chickened out. At this point, I lost faith in my position. And I thought, I don't care. I'll just bail. You know, we'll just bail and it's a draw. And I bailed at this point. I bailed out, like, basically trying to just accept that it was a draw. And I'd be a pawn down and a drawn ending. But the better way of bailing out was here. I thought this would be passive and retreat my knight back from a square where it attacks the central pawn. His bishop is kind of tied down to the pawn on e4, so I thought, why? This is interesting, but still he's going to, like, trade queens. Queen takes, queen takes c8, rook takes c8. This is actually my best line, and it's a draw. And this is an improvement on the game. But instead, I kept my knight on f6 where I thought it's more active, but it's actually worse. And so I went here. And I forced this ending where I'm a pawn down, although it should be a draw. But check this out. I could have played knight to d4, and that was the original plan. And this is crazy, because I'm 2 pawns down after he takes on b7. If he takes on b7. So here he said he was going to play knight b5. Turn on the engine and check this out. Black is better after knight b5. He said he was going to play this after the game. Again, we had like 1 minute analysis. I have knight takes f3 check, pawn takes, queen d7, avoiding, and now watch this. Okay, I would never find this line, but this is really just insanely cool. Knight c7, knight takes e4. Would anybody find this? Like Magnus Carlsen? This is unbelievable, right? But his king, but her emails, look at his king. Look at his king and my king. My king is completely safe. His king is totally chilling there with the open draft. F takes e4, bishop h3. Guess what? I'm down a rook. How much material am I down here? I'm threatening mate with queen g4. Black's still better. Rook c3, bishop takes h3. This is insanity. Check. King g2. What is this? A draw? Check. Rook g3. Queen takes e4. Check. King h3. And black can opt to play for a win or take the draw. But anyway, if I play knight d4, I think I would play knight d5. And this is why I didn't play the line. Because I thought like I was afraid I couldn't avoid the guy trading queens, basically. My feeling was like no matter what I did, he was going to trade queens. So I said, whatever, it's a draw. I'll just do whatever, And I have a way to avoid trading queens. I can play queen d7. This is amazing. Knight takes f6, check, g takes f. Black is a pawn, what are we? A pawn down and we're better. Look at this position. His knight's on a5. His queen's on b6. The whole beauty of everything I did. Rook a6, queen b4. Rook f8. Enjoy your pawn, bro. So I was totally inconsistent. I could have played knight d4 and clearly like I have compensation. But I bailed out. I played rook a6. He takes, and takes. So we get this ending. And now it's like move 24? And both of us have about, when he played the move b4, he has like 2 minutes, and I have like 4 at this point. He had actually used more time than me. And I'm just like overconfident that I can't lose. But I lost like all sense of objectivity here at this point. This is the way I lose all my games. It's like stupid. I lose the weirdest positions in the weirdest ways. Like I never get checkmated by anybody, like once. Here I just messed up. This is a bad move, and it's still not losing. I thought I could take the pawn on e4, but I can't, because after rook b1, knight e4, bishop e4, rook e4, knight c5, and I have like a minute or 2 minutes left trying to calculate bishop a2, and I'm losing in that position. So I should have just gone here. Would anybody here see this? Rook a2, knocking his knight away from the b2 square so that then I can put my rook on b2. Rook a2, knight c5, rook b2. Knight d3, rook b3, knight e5, rook takes b4. And it's probably a draw, because it's all 4 pawns against 3 on the king side. But also another interesting move if I had some guts would be like g5, for example. I don't think I should lose this position. But I managed to lose. My opponent didn't do anything the whole game. Rook c4, rook b1, and now for the losing move. Who ever told you to centralize your kings in an endgame? I had to stop knight c5. So that earlier position where I could have played knight d7 instead of queen a6 or rook a6 would have been better. And I went king f8. I'm probably close to losing now after king f8. I have to play knight d7. And it looks like then I'm holding, because his knight is stupid. What is his knight doing? It can't go to b6, it can't go to c5, b2 is bad, and c3 is unavailable. So he's like paralyzed. This position should be a draw. The example line is king f1, king f8, king e2, g6, king e3, f5, e takes f5, g takes f5. I have compensation for the sacrificed pawn now. Everything's just rolling. His knight is on a4. He's not winning this game. And it's so stupid. I played king f8, allowing knight c5, and now I should have played king e7. But how am I going to blockade this pawn? That's the problem. Actually, you even have to wonder about knight d7 in this position. Does this work? It's not so great. So anyway, I'll show you guys how I lost. I played bishop c8, bishop e2, rook c2, bishop d3, rook c3, king f1, knight d7, bishop d7, and then he plays bishop a6. I play bishop e6. I'm probably lost here. We both have like 1 minute. I have more actually, like 2. I think I still had more time than he did, and 10 moves to make the time control. Then we have another 30 minutes. I just have to reach move 40, and I still had more time than my opponent at this point. He plays, and I was stunned, he plays b5. So he's winning with king e1, but he puts his pawn on the white square in time pressure where I can pin him with check. And now I was like, oh, this is going to be easy, you know? But it's not easy. And I immediately blundered back. After king e1, I blundered the king move again. I didn't find it. I have to play rook c2. And there's active counterplay. There's a really cool line. Rook b4, rook e2 check, king d1, rook takes e4. Again, very hard to calculate. And king d2, rook e2 check. In all lines, I sacked my bishop. And so we would get this really crazy situation like rook takes, bishop b7. So we would end up like 4 pawns and a rook against bishop, rook, and 2 pawns. And this is almost certainly, you know, hard for white to win. Apparently I have even better. I have bishop d5. This is even better. A better version. I play b6, rook takes f2, b7, then take, and then he takes. This is a better version somehow. But anyway, it should have been a draw. I play king e1. He plays king e1. I play king e7. Now I'm lost. Just lost. Bishop b7. I'm lost. I can't do anything. He's threatening bishop d5. I have no blockade. King d6 like an idiot. b6. I can't stop the pawn. And then we both made a bunch of moves and I lost. There's nothing I can do to stop the pawn. This is the problem. Takes, and you can't stop the pawn. Even here, I'm lost. Check, king d3, rook c8. I don't know if I had f5 in, you know. It probably wouldn't matter. He just goes b7, rook b8, and defends his pawn. And I'm lost. So anyway, that was my pain and suffering. Thank you guys for bearing with me while I had this therapeutic, showing you how I lost. It's just a typical loss for me where, you know, I feel like I put a lot of effort and creativity into the game, and my opponent kind of played like a robot, didn't really do anything, and yeah, okay, I guess he made less blunders than me ultimately. That's what it comes down to. But trying to understand, you know, how I can be better. I think this move here, Queen c8 is Queen c8, and maybe it's not the best move. Queen c7 was better, but this move feels wrong. I'm going away from the center too early, and I tell Acerbate and some of our other players here, of course this move is more natural going forward, not off sides. But again, you know, if I play this, he plays bishop b2. I didn't want to do that, you know, but finding this move would have changed everything if I just simply played queen c6. So this impulsive move to go to g4, and lazy, it's like being lazy and impulsive are very dangerous things because of our, you know, short-term society that we live in. If I had taken the time to sit at the board, think clearly, not just make a move that feels like it's like a first move I can think of, trying to play a cool move with like bishop d8 or whatever. This is like too creative. I'm being too creative. It's like fancy play syndrome. It's interesting. It's a little too much. But ultimately, it still wasn't enough to bring me down. I got out of it, and at the critical minute, I didn't play knight d4. Knight d4 is unbelievable. That was the whole idea. I would get control of this square. He has a bad bishop on f3. Dark squares was the whole concept. I had traded dark square bishops, and he has a bad light square bishop. It all makes sense. His pieces are strung out. I can't believe I didn't play this. I talked myself out of it because of knight d5. And I think I just didn't see queen d7. And there's some really crazy stuff like knight c7. If we don't play knight takes f3, knight takes e4, for example, bishop h3. Easy. Anyway, guys, chess is hard and then you die. I'll see you later. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you from Trumpistan. And thanks, Mr. Slow, for the donation. Astrobate, wherever you are. Oh, move 11. Yeah, we'll see you in Trumpistan. Trumpistan tomorrow. I'm coming in late. So, just the time to watch Jimmy Kimmel. No, I don't know. No Jimmy Kimmel. I'm coming in late. I don't know when the next time I stream is. Move 11, what did we say? Saturday. Check your messenger. Or Teams. Whatever it is. Check your Teams. Saturday. Okay. I'm going to try to meet you on Saturday. Alright. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.